Yun Chujo rolled her eyes and leaned over to whisper a few words into old Madame Liu's ear. Old Madame Liu kept nodding her head. You little monkey is really smart. All right, we will do as you say. Wu Shi and Niu Shi were extremely curious. What method was this country bumpkin talking about? Mother, what method is Feng Chao talking about? Niu Shi asked out of curiosity. If I told you, you might have tipped off that slut Luo Shi. When the time comes, you will naturally know, said old Madame Liu with a cold expression. Wu Shi and Mrs. Niu's faces turned stiff. What exactly happened? How did a country bumpkin suddenly become the most favored? The two of them did not have as much confidence as Mrs. Luo, so they naturally did not dare to retort. In any case, they would know what was going on sooner or later. The two of them spoke a few more sentences dryly, then brought Mo Fangshuang and the other two out of the main courtyard. Sister-in-law, what kind of sorcery did that country bumpkin use? Why does the old madam and the family head favor her so much? Lady Niu asked in puzzlement. Third brother and sister-in-law am also very puzzled. They were clearly shouting about fighting and killing yesterday. How did they all change in one night? Wu Shi was also baffled. The two of them discussed for a long time, but they still could not figure out what was going on. However, both of them had other plans in mind. Inside the room, Yun Chujo leaned against old Madame Liu's ear and said, Grandmother, now is a great opportunity to uncover eldest aunt and third aunt's spies. They must be wondering why our grandfather and grandson have reconciled. Therefore, they will definitely think of a way to find out about the spies they have planted in your yard. All you need to do is get Nanny Gao to send someone to keep an eye on them. Old Madame Liu nodded her head in praise. You are indeed smart, little monkey. Not only did you manage to uncover their informants, you even managed to uncover that slut Luo Shi's informants. Grandmother, how can my little bit of cleverness be compared to your wisdom? I have much to learn from you. Yun Chujo openly flattered her. Mo Fengqin, who was standing by the side, had her mouth twitch. She reckoned that she would never be able to learn this shameless personality of hers in this life, the next life or the next life. After Yun Chujo coaxed matriarch Lu, she brought Mo Fengqin back to Tingxian. Elder sister, what ideas did you come up with for grandmother? Mo Fengqin asked curiously. I asked grandmother to send a reliable person to fetch your aunt over, and then I asked grandmother to stop father from going to the Luo residence. Luo Shi will definitely go for it. That's not all. I even asked grandmother to tell grandfather to suppress the Luo residence's business. With a two-pronged approach, there's no need to be afraid that the Luo clan will not bow down. Mo Fengqin was pleasantly surprised. This was great. She could take the opportunity to bring her aunt to the old residence. Furthermore, her grandmother and Luo Shi had already fallen out, so she would definitely send people to protect her aunt's safety. Yun Chujia's eyes flashed with a stern look. Luo Shi and Mo Chung, we are not afraid of settling scores. Let's take it slow. At night, just as Yun Chujo was about to fall asleep, the voice transmission charm in her storage ring began to vibrate. Yun Chujo took out the voice transmission talisman with a trembling hand. Di Biming's deep voice came from inside. Little Jiu, from now on men and women are not related to each other. You take care. If it was an ordinary girl who received such a message, she would definitely cry bitterly and seek death. However, it was clear that Yun Chujo was not an ordinary person. She blinked her eyes, she smiled and said, all right. Anyway, I also think that you are quite useless now. However, should we talk about the breakup fee? You kissed me, touched me and left just like that? After a long while, there was still no movement from the sound transmission talisman. Yun Chujia's anger immediately flared up. Damn it, pretty boy, you're good. If you have the ability, then don't let me catch you. Break up with me? I think you want to fly up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. I think you want to go into the deep sea and have a mouth-to-mouth conversation with that bastard. Pooey. No, he can only have a mouth-to-mouth with me. Xiao Hanyo asked weakly, Master Yu, why aren't you sad? Generally speaking, shouldn't a girl be heartbroken after being broken up? Heartbroken my ass. This gigolo needs to be taught a lesson. Either he was forced to, or he has some incurable disease, or he has some difficulties. Otherwise, he wouldn't break up with me. Xiao Hanyo stared at him with his puzzled eyes and was even more puzzled. Master, why do you say that? Is it possible that he has changed his heart? Has he fallen in love with another girl? TSK. That's impossible. I'm not bragging, master. The gigolo is completely loyal to me. Unless there's some force majeure, he would only do something stupid. Otherwise, would he dare to say that? Besides, where would he find such a gorgeous, smart, and beautiful woman like master? Yun Chujo pouted and said. Xiao Hanyo silent. Xiao Hanyo took a long time to put his shattered worldview back together. He asked curiously, Master, what are you going to do next? Humph. The gigolo must have reached the immortal Yuan continent. Otherwise, the sound transmission talisman would not work. Naturally, I have to meet him. I want to see what this idiot is up to. Yun Chujo said angrily. It would be a lie to say that she was not sad. However, this guy's mental endurance was not something ordinary people could compare to. What was the use of being sad? The gigolo would die for her. How could he break up with her for no reason? There must be a problem. What was there to be afraid of if there was a problem? Just solve the problem. However, the gigolo liked to be stubborn. He had to think of a way to force him to come out and meet her. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes and sent a voice transmission talisman to Enfeng. Little lunatic. Did you follow your exalted lord to the immortal Yuan continent? Yun Chujo was simply a blind cat trying to kill a mouse, but she had scared Enfeng on the other side. Enfeng carefully glanced at Di Biming beside him. After feeling an even colder air than before, he couldn't help but shiver. Oh my god. Although His Majesty was originally arrogant, he was still a little popular. Now he was like an ice sculpture scaring people to death. Enfeng carefully said, Your Majesty, the ninth miss has sent a voice transmission talisman to me. Can I see it? Di Biming frowned and clenched his hands tightly, not saying a word. Enfeng saw that Di Biming didn't say anything and didn't dare to move. He couldn't help but wail in his heart, Oh my god! Oh my god! What is wrong with you, my lord? The ninth miss is in the MO residence in front. Why didn't you go in to take a look? Could it be that you are here to look for your wife? You stay behind to protect her in the dark. If she is injured, you have no value to live. Di Biming said coldly and turned to leave. Your Excellency, then where are you going? I am going where I should go. Don't let her find you and don't tell her anything about me. Di Biming's eyes flashed with pain. It disappeared in an instant and returned to a cold and solemn look. Enfeng would have taken the opportunity to persuade Di Biming in the past, saying that there was something to discuss. However, ever since Di Biming's temperament had changed drastically, he did not dare to do so anymore. He had seen with his own eyes how Di Biming had severely injured Xue Wuji, who had gone to the Temple of Immortals to interrogate him. He had also seen Di Biming staring coldly at Di Linhan and the Lady of the Temple Master. He had also seen with his own eyes how terrifying Di Biming's powers had become. He knew that the person in front of him was still His Holiness, but he was no longer His Holiness. Just as Di Biming was about to turn around and leave, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate again. Di Biming's footsteps paused, but he still used his divine sense to probe inside. Yun Chuji's giggling voice came out from the voice transmission talisman. Pretty boy. You've abandoned me in the end and you still don't want to pay the breakup fee. Since that's the case, then I can only rely on myself. Anyway, the MO family has a lot of shops, so I will sell your paintings. I believe that money will be rolling in soon. When that time comes, the entire Immortal Essence continent will be filled with your paintings. Tell me, isn't it very interesting? Isn't it a pleasant surprise? Di Biming's eyes darkened, and the veins on his forehead bulged, and a cold air came out. Enfeng could not help but shiver. It was so cold. Oh God, it must have been Miss Jiu who said something. However, it was not too much to scold His Excellency. They were going to break up out of the blue. He was really mentally ill. Damn. Well scolded, so scolded. Di Biming took a deep breath and prepared to leave. At this time, the sound transmission talisman trembled again. Di Biming paused for a moment and then sent his spiritual sense in. Yun Chuji's smug voice came from inside again. Pretty boy, don't worry. I will not hang myself on your crooked tree. In a few days, the Mo residence will be mine. At that time, I will hold a marriage ceremony. Anyway, I have spirit stones. I will recruit a few hundred of his husbands. Every night, I will flip through the name tags and ask him to sing a lullaby for me if I like him. And Feng was secretly observing Di Biming's expression when he saw the green stone slabs on the ground start to shatter one by one. He was so frightened that he shrunk his neck and said weakly, "Your Excellency, the earth," and Feng had not finished speaking when he saw Di Biming leap out with a whoosh. He only saw an afterimage. Di Biming was heading towards the Mo residence. And Feng curled his lips. "I told you, the wicked will be tortured by the wicked. Little brat, no matter how cold and ruthless you are, you still can't escape from Miss Zhou's palm. By the way, should I go and watch the show? For the sake of my life, I'd better forget about it." After Yun Chuzhou sent out the voice transmission talisman, she hit the pillow. "Pretty boy. Bastard. Do you think I care about you? Do I have to have you? A beautiful girl like me. Don't you have too many people chasing after me? Pretty boy, you are so shameless. If you turn against me, you won't recognize me anymore. Just you wait, I will draw it now. I don't believe that I can't teach you a lesson." While Yun Chuzhou was cursing, she felt a little cold. Damn it. As expected, people are so unlucky that even a mouthful of cold water is enough to choke their teeth. Why did the weather suddenly change? Is it going to rain? Sigh. It's good to rain. It's just like how I feel. I gave my heart, but in exchange, I got a big bastard who abandoned me. As he spoke, he took out a stack of drawing papers from his storage ring. On them, were all Di Biming, the naked Di Biming. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. TSK, I have to say, although the gigolo has no conscience, his figure is really not bad. If it really doesn't work, I'll make a few puppets in the future and make them all look like gigolos. I'll do whatever I want with them. When the time comes, these puppets will be called Gigolo number 1, Gigolo number 2, all the way until Gigolo number 250. Haha, I reckon that when I sell these puppets, they'll definitely be very popular. I will definitely make a huge profit. The more he talked, the more his thoughts became like wild horses that could not be pulled back. Then the door was smashed into pieces. Yun Chuzhou looked up and saw Di Biming standing at the door. Di Biming was full of murderous aura and his face was full of anger. It was obvious that he was very angry. When Yun Chuzhou saw Di Biming standing at the door, she did not cry or make a scene. Instead, she asked faintly, "Are you going to die soon?" "Humph. I really let you down. My body is very healthy. I can live for thousands of years without any problems." When Di Biming heard Yun Chuzhou's first question, he actually asked if he was going to die. One could imagine the anger in his heart. Actually, even if you are going to die soon, it doesn't matter. Who doesn't live without who? You are here to give me a breakup fee, right? Hurry up. You can leave after giving me the money. I can use this money to support a few more husbands. When the time comes, I'll have a bunch of little ones. Just thinking about it is beautiful. Yun Chuzhou stretched out her hand with a smile. You don't know shame." Di Biming was so angry that he gritted his teeth and smashed the dressing table in the room. "I don't know shame? Di Biming, are you shameless? Do you have the right to criticize me? Did I make you break up with me? Or did I make you abandon me? Don't tell me you have some bullshit reason. Just solve the problem if you have a problem. I despise cowards like you who always sacrifice yourself to help others. Why are you glaring at me? You think you're great? You're a coward. You think you can't overcome the difficulties you encounter, so you pretend to be affectionate and break up with me. Do you think that I will be grateful just because you did this? Dream on. Let me tell you, Di Biming, the moment you said that you were breaking up with me, you were no longer my Prince Charming in my heart. You are an out-and-out coward. Hurry up and give me the breakup fee, then get lost. I, Yun Chuzhou, am looking for an indomitable hero, not a self-righteous bear. Yun Chuzhou pointed at Di Biming's nose and started cursing. Although the cursing was very fierce, the rims of her eyes were red. Di Biming clenched his fists and his eyes were red. After a long silence, he took a deep breath and said, "You are right. I am a coward. Forget about me." Yoon Chujia's heart skipped a beat. She thought that after she said those words, Lee Biming would tell the truth. She did not expect that he still did not relent. This meant that the severity of the matter had exceeded her imagination. Moreover, she also noticed the change in Lee Biming. Although she could not see the level of Lee Biming's spiritual power, but since he was able to sneak into the MO residence, it meant that his spiritual power had increased a lot. Most importantly, Lee Biming's personality seemed to be even colder than before, and even a little colder. What exactly happened? Pretty boy, although I don't know what happened, no matter what happens, Yoon Chujio will not be afraid. I will kill gods and Buddhas whenever I encounter them. If you turn around and leave today, there will be no room for redemption between us. Damn it. Who doesn't know how to say harsh words? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Lee Biming's eyes were fixed on Yoon Chujio, and Yoon Chujio was also fixed on Lee Biming's eyes. Both of their eyes were bright red. They were obviously filled with endless affection, but what they said were ruthless and malicious words. Lee Biming wanted to turn around and leave, but his legs were extremely heavy. He knew that once he took this step, there was really no room for redemption. He had already made up his mind. Why did his heart ache when he heard that little Joe wanted to find another man? He had already decided to let go. Why did he only want to hug little Joe when he saw her pretending to be strong? Lee Biming gritted his teeth and finally turned around, wanting to leave. Pretty boy, very good. This is what I want too. Let me tell you the truth. The Gui Chao in my dantian has begun to corrode my dantian. I estimate that I won't be able to live for more than 3 months. Initially, I thought that I wouldn't be able to see you again. Seeing you before I die would be considered as having no regrets. There is no fate between us in this life. In the next life, let's not see each other in the next life. We are fated but not fated. After saying that, Yoon Chujia's tears flowed down. She lay on the bed and wailed loudly. Lee Biming suddenly turned around and ran to the bedside. He was about to take Yoon Chujia's pulse. Get lost. I don't want you to pretend to be kind. You must be giving me such an act because I'm about to die. You ingrate, get lost. Just let me die on my own. I'm also someone who no one will love. It was not easy for him to think that he was going to die, but he was snatched to the immortal essence continent. The worst thing was that I won't live long. I'm going to die. Woo woo. Yoon Chujio was crying so hard that it almost broke Lee Biming's heart. The Gui Chao in his dantian felt that he had been wronged to death. He had been very well behaved recently, alright? Why did he throw the blame on him? Damn it. Lee Biming was so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. When he saw Yoon Chujio crying so hard that her small body was trembling, it seemed like she was going to faint. His heart was in pain as he said, "Little Joe, don't cry anymore. I'll bring you back to the Tianyuan continent and let my master rebuild your dantian." Rebuild my dantian? I don't want to. Anyway, you don't want me anymore. What's the point of me living? I'll just die in the immortal Yuan continent. I don't want my grandfather and the others to be sad when they hear the news of my death. I am a person with a bitter life. I was abandoned at birth and I can't even fucking cultivate. It wasn't easy for me to be able to cultivate, but there's still a Gui Chao in my dantian that wants my little life. I met you. I originally thought that would be a pair forever, but I never thought that you'd be a fucking bastard who abandoned me from the beginning to the end. SOB sob, what's the point of me living? Fuck, I can't live anymore anyway. I've decided to use the sudden rupture talisman to blow me, and the people in the MO residence to death tomorrow and let them die with me. I can be considered to have died a glorious death. Yoon Chujio cried as she spoke, her voice full of cadence. Lee Biming wanted to hug Yoon Chujio in his arms to comfort her. However, when he thought of the purpose of his visit, he couldn't help but be in a dilemma. He was so anxious that he gritted his teeth. Yoon Chujio saw Lee Biming's unlucky look through the gaps between her fingers. She couldn't help but curse in her heart. He's so damn stubborn. Looks like he'll have to take the initiative to attack. Just as Lee Biming was sweating profusely, Yoon Chujio suddenly got up from the bed and pressed Lee Biming on the bed. Then she kissed him. How could Lee Biming have expected such a turn of events? He wanted to resist again, but the little pervert was determined to trick him, so he had no choice but to comply. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujo bit and gnawed continuously. Di Biming could not hold it in any longer, and turned around to press Yun Chujo under his body. After lingering for a while, the two of them finally ended this earth-shaking long kiss. Both of their lips were slightly red and swollen, especially Di Biming's lips, which were even bleeding from Yun Chujo's bite. Yun Chujo turned around and pressed Di Biming under her again. Didn't you want to marry me? Then why did you kiss me? You stinky hooligan. Di Biming had never thought that he could be related to the word stinky hooligan in his life. He could not help but feel embarrassed and grabbed Yun Chujo's wrist. Your dantian is fine? Are you lying to me? Di Biming frowned and asked. Sigh, although it's fine now, something will happen sooner or later. Actually, I also understand why you want to break up with me. There are 3 shameless people in my dantian. Moreover, I have the heavenly thunder spirit root that Tian Dao wants to kill. Most importantly, I can't have sex with you. Of course you despise me. As Yun Chujo spoke, tears fell again and fell on Di Biming's face. Nonsense. When have I ever despised you? Di Biming reached out his hand to wipe away the tears on Yun Chujo's face. You don't have to be so kind. If you don't despise me, why did you break up with me? Yun Chujo said angrily. I sigh. Little Joe, I really did it for your own good. If we don't break up, you will be implicated by me sooner or later. Di Biming had no choice but to grit his teeth and say, Are you stupid? Then won't you become stronger and protect me? Yun Chujo pouted and said. Di Biming let out a long sigh. Little Joe, there are some things that I can't tell you. Moreover, I don't know much myself. Of course, I want to become strong enough to protect you, but am afraid that before I become strong enough, you'll be implicated by me. I'd rather die myself than let you die because of me. So let's split up. Don't worry, I won't marry anyone else. I won't fall in love with another woman for the rest of my life. Yun Chujo poked Di Biming's chest. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? You think that if you break up with me, I won't be in danger anymore? Your so-called threat is that no matter how powerful you are, you can still be as powerful as Tian Dao. I'm not even afraid of Tian Dao, so why would I be afraid of a bullshit threat? Besides, I'm such a talented person, will I always be so weak? I'll become stronger. When the time comes, I'll fight side by side with you. Whoever wants to break us up, I'll destroy him. Di Biming did not speak for a long time. Then he suddenly turned around. Yun Chujo realized that she could not move anymore. Di Biming looked at her. The expression in his eyes was very complicated. There was pity, love, guilt, and a hint of struggle. Little Joe, remember what you said. If you can gain a firm foothold in the immortal Yuan continent in 3 years, and am still alive, we will get married. If you can't, I will also arrange for someone to help you kill the members of the Mo family, including the members of the Mo family and the Ben family in the eastern continent. I will help you resolve the future problems and send you back to the Tian Yuan continent. You can find someone to marry. Yun Chujo knew that Di Biming was serious this time. Her eyes flashed with a dazzling light. 3 years. Okay, then 3 years. But, Gigolo, are you going to let this go after torturing me like this? If I become a heaven's favorite in the immortal Yuan continent in 3 years, you will have to kneel down and propose to me in front of all the mighty figures in the immortal Yuan continent. You will also say that you are looking down on me and underestimating me, Yun Chujo. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Di Biming gritted his teeth. All right. If you really do it 3 years later and am still alive, I'll do as you say. I won't go back on my words. Di Biming kissed Yun Chujo on the forehead, got up and got off the bed. He had 1,000 words in his mind, but he did not know what to say. In the end, he only said 2 words, take care. Di Biming was about to leave. Yun Chujo shouted, you can't leave like this. Other people's doors are fine, but mine is broken. How can I explain tomorrow? Don't you have the strength and know where to use it? Go and smash a few more doors. This guy did not want to admit it. She just wanted to torture Di Biming. Di Biming nodded. Just as he was about to leave, Yun Chujo spoke again. Untie my shackles. Otherwise, what if there are bad people after you leave? Don't worry, I will untie you in less than 15 minutes. The reason why Di Biming imprisoned Yun Chujo was that he was afraid that she would cause trouble again. At that time, he would not be able to harden his heart and leave. Alright, since that's the case, you can leave now. However, you have to remember that you have to protect your little life well. Because your life is not only yours but also mine, Yun Chujius. If you die, I will immediately cuckold you. You dare. Di Biming gnashed his teeth and glared at Yun Chujo. What's there to be afraid of? Since you're already dead, can you still turn into a corpse? Yun Chujo pouted and said in her heart, this gigolo really did not mean what he said. On one hand he asked her to marry someone else and on the other hand he was jealous. He was simply a lunatic. Don't worry, I won't die. You, on the other hand, are lazy and gluttonous, have low spiritual power, and have a temperamental personality that likes to cause trouble. Don't flaunt your little life away. HMPH, that's because I'm not serious. If I'm serious, even I'm afraid of myself. Maybe in less than 3 years, it'll become very awesome. Alright, go and knock on the door. Otherwise, it'll think that you can't bear to part with me. Yun Chujo sniffed and said. Di Biming nodded and left the house. When he reached the courtyard, Di Biming closed his eyes and clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. He was silent for a long time. When Di Biming opened his eyes again, they were filled with a murderous aura. With a flash, a few afterimages flashed past and the doors of the courtyard were shattered. Not only that, half of the doors of the MO residence were shattered into pieces. For a moment the MO residence was in a mess. And Feng was waiting outside the MO residence. When he heard the commotion inside, he could not help but feel puzzled. With the Supreme's current spiritual power, it was impossible for him to be discovered. How did he cause such a huge commotion? Just as Feng was feeling puzzled, Di Biming appeared in front of him. Feng could not help but curse in his heart. The supreme spiritual power was simply inhuman. Why was there no sound at all? Protect her well. If there is anything that cannot be resolved, send a message to me. Yes, Your Majesty. Just as Feng finished speaking, Di Biming disappeared without a trace. Feng touched his chin. His Majesty's lips seemed to be torn and somewhat swollen. Could it be that he was bitten by the ninth miss? TSK, the ninth miss was really fierce. A tsundere like His Majesty should let the ninth miss deal with him. He did not know how their conversation went, but since they had kissed, they should have made up, right? What exactly did His Majesty go to do? Feng was alone in the wind for a while before he left. At this moment the MO residence was in a mess. What a joke, the door had been smashed to pieces. It was impossible not to be in a mess. After Yun Chujo could move, she blinked her eyes. Damn it, I'm not in a good mood today, don't you all stop. Help! Help! It's so scary. It's so scary. Yun Chujo shouted a few times. When she realized that no one was moving, she couldn't help but slap her thigh. The gigolo must have knocked the three of them out. But that was also true. Otherwise, they would have woken up long ago. After Yun Chujo woke up Qing Ji and Qing Lu, she went into Mo Fangqin's room and found that Mo Fangqin was also unconscious. Of course, she wouldn't remind Mo Fangqin that she was knocked out. Instead, she said with disdain, "Third sister, you're sleeping too hard. Our door was smashed, but you can still fall asleep." Mo Fangqin's face was full of confusion. When she raised her head, she indeed found that the door had shattered into pieces. Big sister, what? What's going on? How would I know? Come, let's go to grandmother's place to get a good impression of her. Mo Fangqin was now Yun Chujia's little fan. She put on her coat and followed Yun Chujo out of Tingyi Xian. The two of them ran all the way to old Madame Liu's courtyard. Grandmother, are you okay? I was so worried. Yun Chujo hugged old Madame Liu and said with a sobbing voice. Old Madame Liu was stunned by Yun Chujia's big bear hug. However, when she saw Yun Chujia's red and swollen eyes, she could not help but feel a little touched. This little girl seemed to be really worried, otherwise, Her eyes would not be so red and swollen. Old Madame Lu comforted the two of them as she raised Yoon Chujia's status to a whole new level. Seeing the change in old Madame Liu's expression, Yoon Chujio couldn't help but give herself 32 likes in her heart. Not only did she hide her red and swollen eyes, she also increased her favorability towards Yoon Chujio. It was like killing two birds with one stone. Emo Fangqin pursed her lips. This woman's eyes were already red and swollen. No one would believe that she was worried about her grandmother. Emo Shouting led his men to inspect the place. Apart from the fact that more than half of the doors in the Emo residence had been smashed to pieces, they did not find anything out of the ordinary or missing. How strange. What kind of person was so bored that he smashed all the doors in the Emo residence in the middle of the night? Could it be a warning? That's not right. If it was a warning, why didn't he just smash all the doors in the Emo residence to pieces? Why did he have to go through so much effort to smash so many doors? Emo Peng's and Emo Chang's mansions were only separated by a wall from the Emo residence's old mansion. Emo Chang had stayed at Emo Peng's mansion that night, so when he heard the commotion, he had all rushed over. After discussing it over and over again, everyone was still confused. They had heard of people who killed people, and they had heard of people who stole things. However, this was the first time they had just come to smash a door into pieces. What was the meaning of this person? The next day at dawn, the area outside the Emo residence was in chaos again, because someone noticed that a large chunk of the flagstones on the ground had been shattered. Although this wasn't a big deal if it was an attack with spiritual energy, the fact that no one noticed any traces of spiritual energy was a little unusual. Emo Shouting was already suspicious, so he couldn't help but feel even more worried. Could this be a warning from some almighty to the Emo family? But the Emo family had not provoked anyone. Emo Shouting asked his 3 sons for their opinions, so they were naturally dumbfounded. Trash. All of you are useless. How can I trust you with the Emo family? Emo Shouting scolded angrily. Emo Peng and the other 2 looked at each other. It didn't matter. After all, they were all being scolded at the same time. Besides, the old man only had 3 sons, so he could only give the family property to them. How could he give it to an outsider? As long as the anger subsided, everything would be fine. At this time, a crisp voice came from outside the study room. Grandfather. Grandfather. We're here. Emo Shouting furrowed his brows. This woman really didn't know what she was doing. After what happened to the Emo residence, they should have just stayed in the courtyard. Why did she come to the study room to cause trouble? Just as Emo Shouting was about to let the 2 of them return, he heard Yoon Chujio call out, Grandfather, I have something important to tell you. Emo Xiaoting's heart skipped a beat. Come in. Emo Cheng's expression turned ugly. He had already heard from Wu Shi that this unfilial daughter had broken Jun Chen's leg. How dare she? Moreover, he had heard that she had won the love of her father and mother. How was this possible? So when he saw Yoon Chujio and Emo Fangqin enter, he immediately yelled, Unfilial daughter. We are talking business with your grandfather. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Yoon Chujio blinked her eyes and looked pitifully at Emo Shouting, Grandfather. Emo Shouting knew that sometimes it was better to speak less than to say more. It was better to hold back when you wanted to say something. As expected, Emo Shouting saw Yoon Chujio's pleading eyes and Emo Cheng's angry expression. He was furious, second brother. It was me who let Feng Chao and Feng Qin in. What, do you have something against me? Emo Cheng immediately cowered as he quickly explained. Father, I'm not disobeying you. The main issue is this important study room. Why did the 2 girls come in? What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm old and stupid? HMPH, in my opinion, Feng Chao is stronger than the 3 of you. If Feng Chao was a grandson, even if I handed the Emo family over to her, I wouldn't hand it over to the 3 of you idiots. Emo Shouting heard Emo Cheng's words. He was even angrier. Emo Peng and Emo Chong heard Emo Xiaoting's words and their hearts tightened. They turned to look at Yoon Chujio. This little girl knew evil tricks, didn't she? In just a few short days, how did their father think so highly of her? However, the 2 of them weren't too nervous. After all, Emo Shouting had already said that she was just a little girl. There was no way she would hand the Emo family over to her. At most, she would only give them a little more dowry. Plus, the second brother had other plans for her. Father, I really don't understand. How can a little girl like her be better than the three of us? Emo Cheng's face was flushed red. He felt extremely humiliated, so he vented his anger on Yun Chujio. This rebellious daughter was indeed a jinx. Emo Shouting scoffed and ignored Emo Chung. Instead, he looked at Yun Chujio. Feng Chao, do you have anything to say to grandfather? Yun Chujio pulled out a bowl of porridge from her storage ring. Grandfather, I know you haven't slept all night and haven't had breakfast in the morning, so I asked the big kitchen to prepare a bowl of porridge for you. There are some herbs in this porridge to clear your heart and dispel your anger. You should drink it first. No matter how important the matter is, it's not as important as your health. Emo Shouting looked at the bowl of porridge and heard Yun Chujio's words. No matter how cold-hearted he was still a little touched. Emo Shouting did not say a word. He took the bowl of porridge and drank the porridge inside. After he finished the porridge, his nervous mood relaxed a little. Emo Shouting placed the empty bowl on the table. He asked Yun Chujio gently, Feng Chao, are you here to deliver porridge to grandfather? If you have nothing else to do, you can go back. By the way, the scarlet cloud fruits in the courtyard taste good. Pick some and eat them when you leave. Emo Peng and Emo Chong looked at each other. The old man was so kind and attentive. Wasn't he too good to this Emo Feng Chao? He couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, this Emo Feng Chao was a little girl. Otherwise, he might have really handed the Emo family over to her. As soon as Yun Chujio heard that she was about to eat the crimson cloud fruit, her smile grew brighter. Thank you, grandfather. Actually, I came here to tell you my opinion. Before Emo Shouting could say anything, Emo Chung yelled, What do you know? Get out of here. Yun Chujio was so frightened that she shrunk her neck and looked at Emo Shouting timidly. Bastard! Are you the one in charge here or am I? Emo Shouting glared at Emo Chung. Emo Chung gritted his teeth and did not say a word. In his heart, he was complaining that his father was too old and muddle-headed. How could a little girl have any opinions? Feng Chao, speak. Don't worry, grandfather will make the decision for you. No one will dare to touch you. Emo Shouting warned as he glanced at Emo Peng and the other two. Emo Peng and Emo Chang's intestines were about to turn green with regret. If they had known that this little brat would be doted on by the old man, they would never have brought her here. It was like throwing a rock at their own feet. If things continued to develop like this, their second brother's plans would probably be ruined. The old man would never allow him to do that. However, she was just a little brat from a low-class society. What could she possibly do? How could she have a good opinion about what happened last night? Forget it. It was likely that she would come up with a very childish opinion. Grandfather, do you think it's a bad thing that our door was broken into? Maybe someone warned us? Yun Chujio did not say what she thought. Instead, she asked Emo Shouting. Emo Shouting nodded. That's right. I do think so. Isn't that right? Grandfather, I think the opposite of what you think. I think this is a good thing and a huge one at that. Yun Chujio said firmly. Emo Chung couldn't help but snort. Nonsense. Father, she's just a little girl. How can she have any good ideas? Just let her out of here. Shut up. You're a good-for-nothing yourself. Do you think everyone else is as good-for-nothing as you? Feng Chao, ignore him and continue. Emo Shouting looked at Yun Chujio encouragingly. Grandfather, think about it. If the person had bad intentions, why would they go through so much trouble to smash through only a dozen doors? If it was a warning, wouldn't it be more effective to smash through the doors of the Emo residence? Yun Chujio paused for a moment and secretly observed Emo Ziyading's expression. She then continued, I think the person is either playing a harmless joke on us. As you know, all the experts in the outside world have their quirks. Perhaps this person likes to knock on other people's doors for fun. Of course, it was also possible that he was trying to give us some pointers. Emo Chung opened his mouth in an attempt to mock Emo Shouting. But he was afraid that Emo Shouting would scold him. So he swallowed his words and scoffed in his heart. What nonsense! Feng Chao, you said that this quirk is possible. Then what do you mean by giving us pointers? What is the expert trying to give us? Emo shouting asked in confusion. Grandfather, the Emo family originally came from the East Continent. I think the expert wants us to return to our family. Aren't we trapped inside a house right now? Although it's peaceful, we can't see the exciting world outside. Only by opening the door can we have more room for development. To take a step back, Grandfather, none of us have seen how the door broke. Could it be that it wasn't man-made but God's will? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Well said. Haha. She is indeed my Emo Zayading's good granddaughter. She is so smart. You have a point. The stone slabs outside the door were not created by human hands, so this is all part of God's will. Sooner or later, the Emo family will return to the Eastern Continent. Emo shouting kept praising Yun Chujio as he looked at Emo Peng and the other two men standing beside him. Emo shouting was furious. The three of you are all stupid. You can't compare to Feng Chao, you useless piece of trash. You are all part of the Emo family. How can you be so different? Emo Cheng's pupils contracted. He wanted to say something but swallowed it back and glared at Yun Chujio. Father, why are you staring at me? Do you have a different opinion? Yun Chujio looked at Emo Cheng with confusion. Emo shouting furrowed his brows and said unhappily, second brother, do you have a different opinion? No. Emo Cheng wasn't that stupid. Emo shouting was obviously satisfied with what Yun Chujio said. If he said he didn't have a different opinion, he would be looking for trouble. Eldest brother, third brother, do you have a different opinion? Emo shouting asked Emo Peng and Emo Cheng. Emo Peng praised against his heart, Father, what Feng Chao said makes sense. This is a sign from the heavens. Our branch will soon return to the Eastern Continent. Emo Cheng added, although niece Feng Chao is young, she is smart and quick-witted. No wonder Father thinks highly of her. Mo shouting nodded. Since you are all so slow-witted, then work hard. How's the business you've been managing recently? Seeing that they were about to discuss the business, Yun Chujio tactfully said, Grandfather, you guys can discuss some business. Third sister and I will take our leave first. The main thing is, I really have a craving for the scarlet cloud fruit. I'll pick some and eat them. Emo shouting couldn't help but laugh. What a gluttonous little girl. Go on. Pick some more. No one likes the taste of the scarlet cloud fruit anyway. Emo Peng and the other two thought to themselves, old man, aren't you ashamed of your words? When did the scarlet cloud fruit not break their heads? Why did no one like to eat it? How biased. Yun Chujio did not care whether she was biased or not. This person never knew what it meant to be reserved. When she arrived at the courtyard, she specifically picked large and red fruits. Emo Fengqin couldn't stand it any longer and said softly, Big sis, that's enough. The scarlet cloud fruit is meant for everyone to try. Only then did Yun Chujio jump down from the tree and clapped her hands. I thought what grandfather said was true. Since no one likes it, I'll just pluck it all. The corners of Emo Fengqin's eyes twitched. She didn't believe that Yun Chujio couldn't tell that Emo shouting was lying. This guy was greedy. The next day, Auntie Chiu was picked up to the old mansion. Emo Fengqin was very excited as she dragged Yun Chujio to see Auntie Chiu. This was the first time Yun Chujio had seen Auntie Chiu. Auntie Chiu's appearance wasn't bad, but it was obvious that she was a docile person. If it wasn't for Emo Fengqin protecting her all these years, Mrs. Luo probably wouldn't have needed to do anything. The servants could bully her to death. Yun Chujio furrowed her brows. Such a personality was difficult to use. Things went wrong, she might even be a burden. She had to think of a way. That night, Yun Chujio said to Emo Fengqin seriously, Third sister, your aunt's personality is too docile. Firstly, you can't always protect her. Secondly, if she doesn't fight for herself, we can't help her no matter how powerful we are. Emo Fengqin said helplessly, Big sister, I know what you said, but a leopard can't change its spots. My auntie is such a weak character who doesn't fight for anything. I also advised auntie to be stronger, but it didn't have any effect. Third sister, when dealing with someone with Auntie Chiu's character, You have to use strong medicine. What are you trying to persuade is useless? Strong medicine? What's strong medicine? Emo Fangqin was very confused. There is a saying that a mother is strong. Your personality is too independent and strong, so Auntie Chiu doesn't have the desire and opportunity to become stronger. Emo Fangqin was stunned and then asked Big Sister, what do you think we should do? It's very simple. If you have nothing to do, go to your auntie and complain. Tell her all the grievances you have suffered all these years. Tell her all the grievances in your heart. Don't be afraid that your aunt can't take it. A mother is much stronger than you think. You have to let her have a strong desire that you need her protection and that you need her to become stronger. That's enough. Emo Fangqin felt that it was a little unreliable. Character is not formed in a day or two. You can only slowly change it. How much you can change depends on your acting skills. The weaker you are, the faster and stronger your aunt will change. Emo Fangqin was skeptical. However, she now completely followed Yun Chujia's words, so she still followed Yun Chujia's instructions. Yun Chujio did not idle either. She often went to old Madame Liu's place to gain a good impression, and also to sow discord between her and Mrs. Luo. Old Madame Lu now found Yun Chujio much more pleasing to the eye than before. If it were not for Emo Junshin who constantly badmouthed Yun Chujio would be even more favored. Old Madame Lu followed Yun Chujia's instructions and pulled out a few of Wu Shi's spies. Originally, according to old Madame Liu's personality, she would have to cane all these maidservants to death. Yun Chujio gave an idea. Grandmother, why do you have to dirty your hands? Let's not alarm these people first. Maybe when the time comes, we'll use a counterplot and have an unexpected effect. Old Madame Lu laughed and scolded, you little monkey, you sure have a lot of ideas. Alright, well, do as you say. Yun Chujio secretly memorized the names of these people. TSK, these people had something in my hands, they might be useful in the future. Although Emo-chang wanted to bring Madame Luo back, old Madame Lu had already given her life. If he went, old Madame Lu would kill herself, so he did not dare to pick up Luo Shi. At the same time, Emo shouting began to put pressure on the Luo family's business. He had long disliked the Luo family, so he could use this as an excuse to vent his anger. Madame Luo's life at her mother's house was not easy. Her brother did not say anything, but his sisters-in-law began to speak coldly. When Madame Luo heard that Auntie Chiu had been brought to the Emo residence, she couldn't sit still any longer. She shamelessly brought Emo Fanghua back to the Emo residence. Slut! Didn't you go back to your mother's house? Didn't you want to use the Luo family to pressure me? Why did you take the initiative to come back? Old Madame Lu pointed at Madame Luo's nose and scolded. Madame Luo's face flushed red. She wished she could tear old Madame Lu into pieces, but she knew that now was not the time to retaliate. Therefore, no matter how old Madame Lu scolded her, she listened respectfully and did not dare to retort. Old Madame Lu looked down at Luo Shi, who was crouching down, and she felt extremely comfortable. This was the first time in so many years that she felt so happy. It was still that little frisky monkey Fong Chao, who had a solution. Madame Luo waited for old lady Lu to finish scolding her before saying, Mother, my daughter-in-law was blinded by lard a few days ago, so she said some things that she shouldn't have said. Sir, please forgive your daughter-in-law and forgive her. Humph! Your words are better than your singing. If you were half as filial as that Fong Chao girl, I would be ba. Old lady Lu said with a cold humph. The grievance in Madame Luo's heart could be imagined. She gritted her teeth and said, You're right. Daughter-in-law, you must correct yourself in the future. Old Madame Lu reprimanded Madame Luo for a while more before letting her go. Madame Luo brought Emo Fanghua to Emo Junshin's courtyard. Emo Junshin saw Madame Luo and wailed loudly, Mother, you must help me get revenge. That little bitch made me suffer so much. I don't know what kind of bewitching potion she gave my grandmother, but she actually defended her and said that she was right to teach me a lesson. I'm so angry. Mrs. Luo was so angry that she gritted her teeth. The old and new grudges were all gathered together. Junshin, don't worry. Mother will definitely help you get revenge. You just need to recuperate well. After Mrs. Luo returned to the courtyard assigned to her, she could not help but throw a tantrum. That old fart is simply too much of a bully. This is definitely all the work of that country bumpkin. Mother, are we just going to let it go like this? How can that country bumpkin make grandfather and grandmother protect her? Mother, you shouldn't have brought her back in the first place. Mo Fanghua had never been so cowardly before. If it wasn't for Madame Luo stopping them, they would have wanted to kill Yun Chuzhou to vent their anger. When Madame Luo heard Mo Fanghua's words, her heart was moved. Fanghua, you go back to your room to rest first. I'll go and discuss something with your father. After Mo Fanghua left, Madame Luo came to the study in the courtyard. When Madame Luo saw Mo Cheng, she naturally complained. Mo Cheng gritted his teeth and said, "You're right. This definitely has something to do with that rebellious daughter. She's really a troublemaker. Husband, this child Fang Chao is really too calculative. Moreover, father and mother are spoiling her more and more. If we don't make a decision quickly, I'm afraid that things will change when the time comes." Mo Cheng nodded. "You're right. There's no time to lose. Get father-in-law to immediately contact that side and then get someone from that side to send over the betrothal. We'll settle the marriage. Hurry up and get this loser out of the family. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with us." "Husband, what if father and mother object?" They want. At most, they will give father a portion of the promised benefits. Don't worry, I have a way to convince father." Mo Cheng's eyes flashed with malice. This wretched girl was the same as that bitch. They both deserved to die. On the other side, Yun Chuzhou and Mo Fangqin had just returned from Mo Xiaoting's study room to Tingyi Xian. Their eyes flashed. "Third sister, I heard that Luo Sure is back. Hurry and go to Auntie Chou's place to raise morale." Mo Fangqin nodded and left the courtyard. After Yun Chuzhou returned to her room, she moved the desk away and dug out the square bricks from underneath. Xiao He jumped out from within. "Master, your black-hearted father said that he wants to arrange a marriage for you. You should think of a way quickly. From what he said, the other side will come to give the betrothal gifts soon." Xiao He said anxiously. "Arrange a marriage? They want to arrange a marriage for me just because they brought me back? Did he say who the other party is?" Yun Chuzhou frowned and was not too surprised. Xiao He repeated what it had heard. "Master, it's all thanks to your divine plan that I hid in your black-hearted father's study. Otherwise, things would have been bad. What should we do now? I have to think about it carefully. It's not that easy to plot against me. You continue to keep an eye on me and be careful not to be discovered," Yun Chuzhou said coldly. "Master, don't worry. I've made another hole in their bedroom. I guarantee that I'll be able to find out their conspiracy," Xiao He said proudly. The corner of Yun Chuzhi's eyes twitched. She was afraid that she would not be able to get any useful information from the bedroom. Instead, it was the two of them who were having sex. They were probably going to have sex. After Xiao He left, Yun Chuzhou moved the table back to its original position. Yun Chuzhou recalled what Xiao He had said. Mo Cheng had said, "It doesn't matter if it's dead or alive." This meant that there was definitely something wrong with the marriage. Either the other party was a pervert, or the other party had other motives for marrying her. However, it was definitely not a good marriage. If not, the Luo clan would have allowed Mo Fanghua to marry instead of her. Yun Chuzhou felt that the matter was a little tricky. The difficulty of this matter depended on the background of the family that wanted to marry her. If the other party was just an average family, she could easily get rid of them by acting coquettishly and using her words. She was afraid that the other party's background was much stronger than the Mo family's. If the other party threatened her, Mo Xiaoting would definitely give up on her. The second possibility was extremely high. Otherwise, Mo Cheng and Madame Luo would not have taken such a huge risk to bring her back from the Tianyuan continent. Most importantly, manager Xia's Hunyuan bell was said to have been lent to Mo Cheng by Mo Xiaoting. This meant that Mo Cheng knew about it. Mo Xiaoting wasn't the only one who knew. Old Madame Lu, Mo Peng and Mo Cheng also knew about it. Otherwise, Mo Peng and Mo Cheng wouldn't have wanted to succeed her. As long as Mo Cheng gave them enough benefits, No one would speak up for her. Yun Chujo walked around the house. What should she do? Escape? Obviously it wasn't possible. Her current spiritual power was too low. Although she was in danger in the MO residence, she could at least keep her life. If she ventured out, she would most likely die. Most importantly, she wanted to use the MO residence as a springboard to the eastern mainland. Since she couldn't escape, she could only think of a way to ruin the marriage. Right now, the only thing she could do was to gain MO Xiaoting's attention within a short period of time. This attention had to exceed the benefits that the other party had promised. What could she do to make MO Xiaoting fall out with the other party to protect her? To be honest, Yun Chujo couldn't think of a solution for the time being. Although her alchemy or talisman-making skills had an immediate effect, the side effects were too great, so she couldn't use this method as a last resort. Yun Chujo also had the thought of asking Di Biming for help, but she immediately rejected it. Firstly, the gigolo was definitely doing something important. He was probably very far away from Fengli City, so far water couldn't quench his thirst. Secondly, I Yun Chujo am also an ambitious person. We agreed on a 3-year pact. We agreed on becoming the elites of the immortal Yuan continent. If I ask for help in such a small matter, wouldn't that be a slap in the face? Yun Chujo was a big-hearted person. If she couldn't think of a solution, she might as well stop thinking about it. When the time came, she would just have to deal with whatever came her way. At worst, she could use her talisman technique to convince MO Xiaoting. The next morning, Yun Chujo and MO Fangqin arrived at MO Xiaoting's study room. MO Xiaoting's expression did not look too good. It was as if he had encountered something troublesome. Yun Chujo tactfully did not annoy him. Instead, she sat quietly at the side and read a book. Yun Chujio's mind was naturally not on the book. After a long time without turning the page, the corners of his mouth suddenly curled up and his eyes sparkled. MO Fangqin, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but wonder, what was this black-hearted country bumpkin thinking? After a while, MO Peng and MO Chong came in with their heads lowered. MO Xiaoting saw the two men's anger and was furious. Useless people. How did I, MO Xiaoting, raise two useless people like you? Father, please calm down. It was only because we were careless that we fell into the trap. We will be careful in the future, MO Peng said with a red face. Humph. You sure made it sound easy. If you were careless, you would have lost hundreds of millions of high-grade spirit stones. With the speed at which you squandered, the MO family would be completely wiped out in less than 3 years. You promised me that you would be able to take care of things on your own. The first thing I asked you to do, you ruined it for me. How could I trust you with the MO family? MO Xiaoting pointed at MO Peng and MO Chang's noses and cursed. He was obviously extremely angry. MO Chang was being scolded so badly that he couldn't keep his face. He tried to defend himself. Father, you can't put all the blame on me and brother-in-law. It's all because of second brother's brother-in-law. Otherwise, how could we trust him so easily? If I were to say this, it's possible that second brother and his brother-in-law teamed up to set the MO family up. Clang! MO Xiaoting smashed the teacup on the table onto the floor. Idiots! How can you be so gullible? You know that the MO family has been suppressing the Luo family for a long time, and they are already unhappy. Yet, you still let the Luo family lead the way for you. Are your heads made of paper? MO Chang said unhappily. Father, we accept everything you've said. But, are we just going to let second brother get away with this? He doesn't have the guts. That idiot must have been used by someone. Someone get second brother here. MO Xiaoting's head was buzzing. Whether it was his son or grandson, there was no one capable. Who would he leave the MO family to in the future? MO Fangqin tried her best to signal Yun Chujo with her eyes. Her eyes were about to cramp up. What did she mean? They were already like this, why weren't they taking their leave? This was too indiscernible. Yun Chujo acted as if she hadn't seen anything as she calmly continued to read her book. Unfortunately, she did not turn the page for a long time. It was obvious that the drunkard's intention was not in the wine. Emo shouting was so angry that he was about to faint. Naturally, he could not remember to chase them out. As for Emo Peng and Emo Chong, they had the intention of letting the two of them leave, but they were afraid that they would be scolded if they said anything, so they did not dare to say anything. Emo Chung and Luosher had a rough night last night. They yawned sleepily as they walked in. Father, you were looking for me? Emo shouting was furious when he saw Emo Cheng's expression. You useless thing. What time is it? Tell me, did you know about the plain brocade? Emo Chung was confused. Plain brocade? What's wrong with plain brocade? Didn't big brother and third brother just bring in a large batch of plain brocade? It was my brother-in-law who arranged it. Emo Chong immediately said, second brother, what are you pretending for? Did you and your brother-in-law make a trap just to trick me and big brother? Emo Cheng's face was filled with astonishment. Third brother, what did you say? What nonsense, what did I cheat you of? You still don't admit it? Your brother-in-law said that the plain brocade supplied by the merchant was of good quality and cheap price. My brother and I felt that this plain brocade was a popular fabric in the Eastern continent, and we could definitely make a huge profit from selling it. Thus, we bought 500 million high-grade spirit stones plain brocade in one go. Who would have thought that when we returned to take a look, only the top few of those plain brocade were good. The plain brocade below were modeled all over. It was obvious that they were not dyed evenly and were defective goods. The biggest selling point of plain brocade was that the color was pure, and there was no color difference even when it was dyed. Who do you want me to sell these goods to? Emo Chong was certain that this was a trap set up by Emo Chong, and could not contain his anger. Emo Chong was stunned at first, then he sneered and said, third brother, not to mention that I would never do such a thing. Even if I really set a trap, are you an idiot? Don't you know how to inspect the goods? Emo Peng and Emo Chang's faces flushed red. They naturally knew how to inspect the goods. However, on the day of the delivery of the goods, Emo Chang's brother-in-law and the merchant arranged for the location to be at a brothel. Emo Peng and Emo Chong were dazzled by the enchanting woman inside. They quickly glanced at the few pieces of cloth on top and stored them in their storage rings. Emo shouting saw his three sons blaming each other and blamed each other. His anger grew. Shut up. I will naturally send someone to investigate the truth. If the Luo family is involved, I will not let them off so easily. Now tell me, what should we do with this batch of goods? Emo Peng probed, Father, why don't we lower the price of this batch of cloth? Lower the price? How much? The original price is 100,000 spiritual stones per piece, but right now, no one wants 5,000 spiritual stones. Those who have money will feel that it's too low, but those who don't will buy cheaper cloth, okay? Then we will lower the price even more. Someone will definitely buy it for 3,000 spiritual stones. Bullshit. Is this what you call an idea? Idiot. Emo shouting wished he could slap him to death. What a pig's brain. After being scolded, Emo Peng did not dare to speak. Emo shouting then turned to Emo Chong. Third brother, tell me, what idea do you have? Emo Chong rolled his eyes. Father, let's give him a taste of his own medicine. He'll find a buyer somewhere else to sell this to him. When the time comes, we'll just deny it. Emo shouting was so angry that he almost fainted. You're driving me crazy. Let's not talk about whether or not idiots like you would fall for it. Even if they did fall for it, wouldn't our Emo family's reputation be ruined? The most important thing in business is reputation. If we don't have a reputation, it's only a matter of time before it's over. Emo Chong watched from the side as Emo Peng and Emo Chong were scolded. His eyes flashed with pride. These two idiots still want to compete with me for the position of family head? In your dreams. Second brother, what do you have in mind? Father, I just found out about this matter and was really caught off guard. However, I had an idea just now and am not sure if it's feasible. Speak. Father, I've heard from Chaoyun that the Luo clan has recently hooked up with people from the extreme desert city. Although the extreme desert city is lacking in resources, it produces fire gravel and is a good material for refining artifacts. As we need to pass through the extreme desert to reach the extreme desert city, very few people go there to do business. If we ask the Luo clan to sell these plain brocade at a lower price in the extreme desert city, and then exchange them for a considerable amount of fire gravel, once we come back and sell them, we'll definitely make a profit without losing anything, Mo Chung said with a beaming expression. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Oh, your idea isn't bad. I didn't expect you to be so business-minded. But will the Luo family agree to it? Mo Shouting said with a smile, but his smile did not reach his eyes. Mo Chung was even more excited when he heard Mo Ziyading's words, "Father, I just had a sudden thought. With this transaction, not only will we not lose money, we will also make a fortune. It's a great deal." If it was anyone else, the Luo family would definitely not agree. But what relationship do we have with the Luo family? I will go with Chaoyun to see father-in-law. He will definitely agree. It's very dangerous to go to the extreme desert city. Will the Luo family help us for free? Mo Shouting asked calmly. This is a business transaction. Of course we will not help you for free. But our families are relatives after all, so it shouldn't be too much, Mo Chung said with a flicker in his eyes. If that's the case, you should go to the Luo family right now and find out what's going on. Yes, I'll bring Chaoyun to the Luo family right now. Mo Cheng's face lit up as he left in a hurry. Father, second brother doesn't usually have so many tricks up his sleeve. If you say that this has nothing to do with him, I won't believe it even if you beat me to death, Mo Chong said through gritted teeth. You guys should go back first. Second brother will come back and see what the Luo family has to say, Mo Shouting said non-committally. Mo Peng and Mo Chong had no choice but to take their leave and leave the study room. Mo Shouting sat in his chair without saying a word for a long time before he suddenly asked, Feng Chao, what do you think? Yun Chujo giggled. Grandfather, don't you know what's going on in your heart? As a daughter, there are some things that I can't say. Mo Shouting let out a long sigh. If you cause trouble, you won't even talk about returning to the eastern continent. I think the moment I step down, the Mo family will be wiped out by these 3 idiots in less than 3 years. Grandfather, look at what you're saying. You can live for another tens of thousands of years without a problem. Besides, children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. If a son can't do it, maybe a grandson and granddaughter will do it. Take me for example. What do you think of me? Yun Chujo shamelessly recommended herself. Mo Fankin's eyes twitched. Big sister, you really dare to say that? The Mo family's housekeeper wasn't someone you could turn to. Just wait to be scolded. Mo Shouting was also amused. You little girl, you sure have thick skin. If you were a grandson, grandfather would have considered handing the Mo family over to you. Unfortunately, you are a girl and sooner or later, you will belong to someone else. Grandfather, I don't like what you are saying. So what if you are a girl? I am a member of the Mo family and naturally, I have to do my part for the Mo family. At most, I will give birth to a few more children in the future, and one of them will have the surname Mo. Besides, if someone from the Mo family is successful, I'll just hand over the housekeeper to him. If you don't trust me, I'll swear on my life, Yun Chujo said as she pouted. Mo Shouting was stunned for a moment before he fell into deep thought. Feng Chao, it's good that you have such intentions, but this is a big matter that concerns the Mo family. Grandfather can't make a decision just because you say so. How about this? If you can help grandfather handle the plain brocade beautifully, I'll consider it. If you can't do anything about it, then don't mention anything about taking control of the Mo family and listen to grandfather's arrangements. Do you have the guts to agree? Yun Chujo couldn't help but curse. What an old fox. Even if she succeeded, Mo Shouting would only give it a think. He was truly capable of both offense and defense. However, she urgently needed Mo Ziyading's recognition, so she could only seize the opportunity in front of her. So, Yun Chujo said confidently, Grandfather, leave this matter to me. I promise that not only will I not lose money on this batch of plain brocade, I will also help you make a huge profit. But there is a condition. You must keep everything I do a complete secret. You must not tell anyone and give me some reliable servants. Emo shouting did not expect Yoon Chujo to actually agree. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If his 3 sons were so brave, they could have been taught slowly even if they were a little slow. Unfortunately, they were all useless. Tell me, does your father know anything about this? What role does he play? Yoon Chujo said with a smile, grandfather, since you've asked, I can only speak my opinion. I think that father didn't know about it before, but after the incident, second aunt should have told him some things and then gave him such an idea. As for my father, he must have thought that since the incident had already happened, there was nothing to be done about his resentment towards the Luo family. He might as well take this opportunity to show off in front of you. Second aunt must have told him that this was a great opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You must have been very disappointed with first uncle and third uncle. With my father's performance, you must have been very fond of him and might have decided to pass on the position of clan head to him. Therefore, my father had come to show off in a silly manner. Of course, the biggest beneficiary of this matter would definitely be the Luo clan. The businessman was most likely in cahoots with the Luo family. Not only did he successfully sell the defective goods, he also suggested a way for the Luo family to go to extreme desert city. The Luo family would definitely take this opportunity to make another profit. They might even come up with some harsh conditions to threaten the Mo family. What you said makes sense. But what do you think I should do when your father returns? Mo shouting looked at Yoon Chujo as she spoke with confidence. He felt even more regretful that she was a granddaughter. If she was a grandson, the Mo family would definitely shine. Grandfather, we can't let an ingrate like the Luo family get away with this. Let's delay him. We won't say yes or no. Let them lower their guard so we can take action. I promise you, as long as you trust me enough, after I deal with this batch of plain brocade, I will definitely think of a way to bankrupt the Luo family and let others see the consequences of provoking the Mo family. Yoon Chujo said confidently. Mo shouting was overwhelmed by the scene described by Yoon Chujo. This granddaughter of his was indeed not simple. Not only was she intelligent, she was also bold and domineering. Only someone like her could become a qualified family head. Mo shouting subconsciously tapped his finger on the desk and remained silent for a while. He gritted his teeth. Fong Chao, as long as you can do what you say, grandfather will give you a chance to become a family head like your uncle. Grandfather, this is the best decision you've made. Give me a chance and not only will I return the Mo family to you, I will also lead them back to the eastern continent. Yoon Chujo said proudly. Fong Chao, everyone knows how to talk big. You should settle the plain brocade issue first. Although Mo Ziyading's blood was boiling due to Yoon Chujio's words, he still poured cold water on her. Grandfather, don't worry. I promise I'll do it beautifully. However, I need to have some funds to start the work. Do you want to give me some spirit stones first? Yoon Chujo said with a cheeky smile. How much do you need? Not too much. Just give me 20 million high-grade spirit stones first. What? How much did you say? Mo shouting thought he had heard wrong. 20 million, don't you think that's a bit low? Don't worry, I can do great things with a small amount of money. But if you want to give me more, I won't object, Yoon Chujo said with a smile. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Nonsense. Why do you need so many spiritual stones? Mo shouting thought he must have been too anxious to believe that a little girl like her would have a solution to the problem. Grandfather, so you think I'm asking for too much? Didn't you know that 20 million wasn't a lot for a small amount of money? Don't worry, your 20 million is just bait. In the future, I will return you a lot of big fish, Yoon Chujo said confidently. Mo shouting was silent for a moment before he gritted his teeth and handed Yoon Chujo 20 million high-grade spirit stones. Fong Chao, I'm warning you. If you waste your money, I will not forgive you. Grandfather, don't worry. I guarantee that it will be fine. Give me a few trustworthy people. I think the guards in your study room are not bad. Give them to me and then give me a shrewd shopkeeper. You don't need to worry about the rest. Emo shouting was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. It turned out that this little girl was worried about his guards. She was quite shrewd. These guards had the highest spiritual energy in the Emo residence, and were also the most reliable. Emo shouting had no choice but to pull the trigger. He could only grit his teeth and call in a guard. Hey sure, you and your men will temporarily listen to Feng Chao's arrangements. Her orders are equivalent to mine. Don't make any mistakes, okay? Hey sure was dumbfounded. What did they do wrong? How did they go from being the master's guard to being Miss Feng Chao's guard? But he did not dare to disobey Emo Xiaoting's orders. So he simply agreed and left. Feng Chao, you can't leave this matter open-ended. Give me a definite answer. How long will it take for you to sell these plain brocade? Emo shouting had invested a lot in this matter. Of course he had to get to the bottom of it. Yun Chujo thought for a moment, at most half a month, at least 10 days. I will definitely make you back what you owe me with interest. During this time, on one hand, you will drag the Luo family down. On the other hand, you will think of a way to get my father and second aunt out of Fengli City so that they don't ruin my plans. Also, you should warn first uncle and third uncle not to cause any trouble for me. Emo shouting did not get impatient after hearing Yun Chujia's words. On the contrary, he felt a little more confident in her. The fact that she could think of all this meant that this little girl was quite capable. He wanted to see what she was going to do. The two of them continued to chat about the details before Yun Chujio led the dumbfounded Emo Fengqin out of Tingxian. Hey sure, the few of you came to see me in the middle of the night without anyone noticing. If anyone finds out, I will make you pretend to be beggars. Yun Chujio whispered to He Sure. He Sure nodded in a daze. He had a bad premonition in his heart. He was afraid that the following days would be more exciting than he could imagine. When they returned to Hexian, Emo Fengqin said anxiously, Big sister, why are you doing this job for no reason? It's not easy for grandfather and grandmother to treat us better. If you don't do well, you will be even more disliked than before. Yun Chujio sighed faintly, Third sister, I am now sailing against the current. If I don't advance, I will fall back. You also know that father and second aunt did not have good intentions when they brought me back. Do you think grandfather will speak up for me when the time comes? If I don't climb up as soon as possible, I will only be at the mercy of others. Emo Fengqin was silent. She knew that what Yun Chujio said was the truth. The Emo family were all cold-blooded and heartless. There was nothing that they could not sell for profit. Big sister, what do you plan to do? That plain brocade is a batch of defective goods. Not to mention selling it at a high price. Even if it is sold at a low price, there might not be anyone who will buy it. Emo Fengqin asked in confusion. Third sister, this batch of plain brocade is a defective product in the hands of others. When it comes to me, it will be a good thing that everyone will fight over. You just wait and see a good show. The corners of Yun Chujia's lips curled up, and a bright light flashed in her eyes. A business genius was about to appear out of nowhere. Tremble, scum. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, Emo Fengqin was still a little uncertain. The plain brocade was obviously a defective product. Anyone with eyes could tell. How did it become so popular with her? Was that even possible? After lunch, Emo shouting sent someone to deliver a few plain brocade to Yun Chujio. Emo Fengqin's heart turned cold when she saw it. Not only were the colors of the plain brocade modeled, but the patterns on each of them were also different. Even if she wanted to piece them together, she wouldn't be able to. It would be strange if someone bought these rags. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up as she looked at the rags. It was as if she was looking at gold and silver treasures. Baby. Baby. Third sister, these will soon turn into shiny spirit stones. When the time comes, I will let you drink soup even if you eat meat. Emo Fengqin's eyes twitched. Drink soup? If you don't let me be implicated by you, I will be Ba. Yun Chujo took out a large kitchen knife and cut off a piece of cloth. Then she said to Emo Fangqin with a smile, "Third sister, I have an important task for you." Emo Fangqin was dumbfounded. "What task?" "It's very simple. Just stand still and don't move." After Yun Chujo finished speaking, she took the piece of cloth and started to gesture at Emo Fangqin's body. At times she was happy, but at other times, she frowned as if she was mentally ill. "Big sister, don't tell me you still want to sell these cloth as clothes? You told your grandfather that you would sell these cloth within half a month. This amount of time is not enough to make clothes. Moreover, even if you can finish it, you won't have enough time to sell it. Moreover, can the clothes made from these clothes be worn?" Emo Fangqin felt that Yun Chujo was bragging too much this time. It was impossible to sell these clothes. Yun Chujo gestured for a long time before she said to Emo Fangqin, "Third sister, go play by yourself. I have to be busy." Although Emo Fangqin was puzzled, she still tactfully left. Yun Chujo took out a pile of rice paper, then took out a brush, ink, paper and inkstone and began to draw. This guy drew one but was not satisfied, so he rolled it into a ball and threw it on the ground. He drew another one but was not satisfied, so he rolled it into a ball and threw it on the ground. Soon the ground was full of paper balls. During dinner, Emo Fangqin came to find Yun Chujo, and was shocked when she pushed the door open. She saw that the ground was full of waste paper balls, and Yun Chujo was still drawing. Emo Fangqin saw a stack of drawings on the table and could not help but pick up one. It was a drawing of clothes. Although it was just a simple sketch with pen and ink, it was still eye-catching. The style of these clothes was something she had never seen before. Was the country bumpkin preparing to use these plain brocade satin to cut into ready-made clothes? However, would this defective product ruin this exquisite design? Just as Emo Fangqin was thinking about it, she heard Yun Chujo say, "You came at the right time. My handwriting is too elegant and elegant. I'm afraid that others won't recognize it. You write it." Emo Fangqin pursed her lips. "Elegant and elegant. I'm afraid that your handwriting is too ugly." Emo Fangqin took the brush and Yun Chujo took out a drawing and handed it to her. "This ready-made clothing is made of red cloth and white plain cloth. The material must be light and thin." The image of the ready-made garment flashed in Emo Fangqin's mind. The modeled pattern on the garment, coupled with the white cloth, should have a good effect. Yun Chujo let Emo Fangqin write down the remaining items that needed to be marked in the drawing. Then she stretched. "Okay, it's time for dinner." "Big sister, although the clothes you made are novel in style and look good with accessories such as drapes or belts, it doesn't look bad. However, time is limited, and there is no time to make all the ready-made clothes. Moreover, even if it can be completed, I don't think it will sell at a good price. Plus, with all the expenses, it will still be a loss." Emo Fangqin was still uncertain, and she felt that it was too difficult to make a profit without losing money. "Third sister, people consider two factors when buying things. One is whether the item is good, and the other is whether the item is famous or not. Now we've already completed the first step. The clothes are indeed good. The rest depends on the second step." Emo Fangqin was at a loss. "Big sister, why can't I understand what you're saying? Famous? How famous can this rag be? If it's really spread out that it's a defective product, then it won't be able to sell." Yun Chujo laughed arrogantly. "That depends on how you want to fool me. You just wait and see." Emo Fangqin still felt that this matter wasn't reliable, but seeing that Yun Chujo wanted to keep her in suspense, she decided not to ask. In the middle of the night, Heisher sneaked into Yun Chujia's courtyard with a few people. They were devastated. As guards of the Emo residence, how could they sneak into the young Miss courtyard like a joke? The one who was even more devastated was a fat old man. This was the shopkeeper that Emo Shouting had found for Yun Chujo. He was brought here by Heisher. The fat old man's surname was Gua. Even now, he was still in a daze. What was he trying to do? He had been kidnapped from his home in the middle of the night, claiming that it was an order from the master. If the master wanted to see him, why didn't he see him in the day? Besides, this courtyard was not the master's courtyard. Yun Chujo heard the commotion outside and signaled for Qingji, and Qing Lu to keep an eye on the outside. She led the group into a small living room at the side. The reason why Yun Chuzhou dared to use Qing Ji and Qing Lu was that this fellow had the names of the spies of the Wushi and the others. They were not on the list. Moreover, she had observed them for a period of time and found that the two handmaidens were quite obedient. She had also threatened and bribed them. She had let them handle some unimportant matters. Shopkeeper Guo was even more dumbfounded when he saw Yun Chuzhou and Mo Fangqin. Although he did not know Yun Chuzhou and Mo Fangqin, he could tell from their clothes that they were the young ladies of the Mo residence. How could he come to see them in the middle of the night? Yun Chuzhou sized up Shopkeeper Guo. Shopkeeper, what's your surname? My surname is Guo, Shopkeeper Guo said respectfully. So it's Shopkeeper Guo. You might not know why I called you here. It's like this. My grandfather gave me a task, which is to sell the plain brocade that my uncle and the others brought in at a high price. I asked my grandfather to give me a shrewd shopkeeper. Since you have been chosen by my grandfather, it means that you are the best among the many shopkeepers of the Mo family. I hope you won't disappoint me. Shopkeeper Guo finally understood and his heart sank. That batch of plain brocade was a defective product. How could it be sold at a high price? This mission was simply too difficult. Was he supposed to think of a way to sell it? It couldn't be sold at all. Yun Chuzhou saw Shopkeeper Guo and guessed his thoughts. She couldn't help but smile. Shopkeeper Guo, don't worry. I have my own plans for what to do. I have a task for you now. Find a dozen or so reliable tailors and finish making these ready-made drawings within 2 days. You can just ask Uncle for the plain brocade. Keep your actions secret and don't let others find out. Shopkeeper Guo took the drawing that Yun Chuzhou handed over, and couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Miss Fnao, did you draw this? The style of the clothes on it is really too novel. If you use other fabrics to make ready-made clothes, the sales will definitely be good. However, if you use those defective products to make it, although it should be good, I'm afraid it won't be easy to sell it at a high price. You just need to make the clothes well. You don't have to worry about other things. After the first batch of ready-made clothes is made, I will ask He Sure to go and get them. Then you guys hurry up and make as many as you can. I have other arrangements, Yun Chuzhou said coldly. Shopkeeper Guo saw Yun Chuzhou's cold tone and didn't dare to say anything more. However, he didn't think much of it in his heart. Why did she come here in the middle of the night to talk about such a small matter? She was really making a big fuss over nothing. Just as Shopkeeper Guo was thinking about this, he heard Yun Chuzhou say coldly, Shopkeeper Guo, do you think I'm making a big fuss over nothing? Moreover, these cloths can't be sold at all? I'm warning you, if you mess up this matter, the first thing I'll do is to kill you. As soon as Yun Chuzhou finished speaking, Shopkeeper Guo felt a chill on his neck, and a big kitchen knife was placed on his neck. Shopkeeper Guo was so frightened that he nearly fainted. Oh God, this young lady of fragrant grass is too scary. Why does she always use a large kitchen knife? Other masters would at most just scare her, but this one she directly attacked. Shopkeeper Guo originally had some intentions of perfunctory, but after being frightened by Yun Chuzhou, he immediately threw those thoughts out of his mind. What a joke! If he didn't take it seriously, this crazy young lady would really take his life. Shopkeeper Guo, I've always been clear about rewards and punishments when handling matters. Don't worry, if you do this matter beautifully for me, I won't lose any of your benefits. Take this 1 million upper-grade spirit stones first. Shopkeeper Guo was even more dumbfounded. 1 million upper-grade spirit stones? This fragrant grass young lady was too generous. Although finding a tailor would cost a bit, she still didn't need to spend so much. Do you have any more questions? If not, wait outside the courtyard. I still have something to tell He Sure and the others. Yun Chuzhou saw Shopkeeper Guo's stunned expression. She thought to herself, red dates and a big stick were indeed a good way to quickly subdue her subordinates. Shopkeeper Guo heard Yun Chuzhou's question and quickly shook his head. Then he went into the courtyard to wait. He Sure and the others felt uneasy. What kind of mission would this Miss Feng Chao assign them? She made it so mysterious. What exactly was she going to do? Yun Chujo babbled her thoughts to He Shi and the others. Everyone's faces stiffened. How did this Miss Feng Chao's head grow? How did she come up with these strange ideas? Do you all understand what each of you have to do? I will give each of you 1 million high-grade spirit stones. You have to pay more and pay less. Don't be afraid of spending money. Do it beautifully for me. Do you understand? He Shi and the others nodded one after another. They only had one thought in their hearts. This Miss Feng Chao was really generous. 1 million high-grade spirit stones in one go. She was really generous. After He Shi and the others left, Mo Fengqin was silent for a long while. She said to Yun Chujo, "Big sister, I believe that you can sell these cloths for a good price this time. You're too mean." "Third sister, this isn't called mean. This is called building momentum. Besides, there are no unscrupulous businessmen. You have a lot to learn." Yun Chujo said smugly. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Two days later, Mo Shouting noticed that Yun Chujo was happily reading in the study room every day. She did not do anything, so he couldn't help but ask curiously, "Feng Chao, how's the situation going?" "It's already been 2 days. Grandfather, everything is under my control." "Don't worry," Yun Chujo said confidently. "You sure talk big, little girl. I'll wait and see." Mo Shouting laughed. "Grandfather, I don't do things that I'm not confident in. Since I've promised you, I will definitely do it." "I hope so." Just as the grandfather and grandson were chatting, housekeeper He from the Mo residence came over to report, "Master, there's a group of people outside. They say they're from the Zhao family. Second young master and second madam are also with them." Mo Ziding's expression changed. He slammed the table angrily. "Built the feudal city's Zhao family? Second brother is an idiot. How did I give birth to such a stupid waste?" Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. Mo Chung and Luo Shi were also with her. So, this Zhao family must be the Zhao family that wanted to marry her. She didn't expect them to arrive so quickly. "Grandfather. Father had once let slip that there was a Zhao family that wanted to marry me. However, it was not a good match. It was no different from selling me out. Grandfather, I know that as the head of the family, the interests of the Mo family are naturally the most important. If the Zhao family were to offer a sizable exchange, you would definitely be in a dilemma. I do not blame you because if I were you, I would also put the interests of the family first. But since I am your granddaughter, please give me a chance to prove myself. I will prove that the benefits you will bring me will be thousands of times more than what the Zhao family will give you. I will definitely lead the Mo family back to the eastern continent." Yun Chujo said as she looked at Mo Shouting with determination. Mo Shouting was obviously caught off guard. He did not expect Yun Chujo to know the Zhao family's intentions and say something like this. If Yun Chujo had simply begged or complained, not only would Mo Shouting not show any mercy, he would have even insisted on marrying her off. After all, the Zhao family was not to be underestimated. Offending them would not bring any benefits. Not to mention there would be plenty of benefits. However, not only did Yun Chujo not complain, she even said that she understood his difficulties. This made Mo Shouting feel a little pity and relief. He felt that this granddaughter of his was a reasonable person. Mo Shouting thought back to the events of the past few days. After a moment of silence, he finally said, "Grandfather is not a cold-hearted person. You know how filial you are to him. You don't have to worry about the Zhao family for now. Just sell the plain brocade and we will discuss the future." "Thank you, grandfather. I will definitely take care of the plain brocade issue. I won't let you down. Since we have a guest visiting, third sister and I will take our leave." Yun Chujo couldn't help but curse in her heart. This old fox was really stubborn. It looked like he would temporarily delay the Zhao family. If she took care of the matter regarding the plain brocade, then the crisis would be temporarily resolved. If she didn't take care of it properly, the old fox would most likely agree to the Zhao family's request. What a cold-blooded old bastard. Okay, let's go back. Mo Shouting noticed that Yun Chujo did not continue to pester the Zhao family. He couldn't help but be satisfied with the way she handled the matter. If the plain brocade matter could really be taken care of, it wasn't a bad idea to have a falling out with the Zhao family and ask her to stay. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After sending Yun Chuzhou away, Emo shouting arrived at the reception hall. A moment later, Emo Chang and Luo Shi accompanied an old man into the room. Father, this is the second elder of the Zhao family. He has specially come to discuss the marriage between Fang Chao and us, Emo Chang said with a bow. Emo shouting was furious when he saw Emo Chang and Luo Shi fawning over him. How embarrassing. Oh, it's second elder Zhao. Please have a seat. Someone come and take a look at the tea. Emo Ziyading's tone was a little distant and unfriendly. The second elder of the Zhao family only nodded slightly before sitting down. He did not even say a word of courtesy. It was obvious how arrogant he was. Luo Shi said from the side, Father, should we call out the fragrant grass for the second elder to take a look? How dare you? How dare a woman like you interrupt us? Get out of here. Emo shouted unhappily. Catching a child was not a business deal, not to mention it was not a business deal. Luo Shi's face was red from embarrassment. She took her leave, her heart filled with hatred. Old fart, just you wait. After scolding Luo Shi, Emo shouting picked up his teacup and drank his tea without a word. The second elder of the Zhao family did not expect Emo shouting to have such an attitude. When he saw Emo Chang and Luo Shi trying to curry favor with him, he originally thought Emo shouting would have the same attitude. But he did not expect Emo shouting to be so unpredictable. Master Emo, let's not beat around the bush. I am here to help my nephew, the youngest son of the Zhao family, propose a marriage. As long as the marriage is confirmed, our two families will be in-laws. Not only will the betrothal gifts be generous, the Dao talismans that the Zhao family specializes in will be offered to the Emo family at the lowest price, the second elder said. He looked at Emo shouting confidently. He did not think Emo shouting would reject his offer. The Dao talisman's business had a huge profit margin, but it was only possible if there was a source of supply. There were very few high-level talisman masters on the immortal Yuan continent. So, if any family had a few talisman masters, it would be like raising a money tree. The Zhao family was a famous talisman family on the immortal Yuan continent's western continent. Almost all of the talismans on the western continent were supplied by the Zhao family. If they could get their hands on the low-priced talismans, it would be a huge profit. This was also the reason why Emo Chang took such a huge risk to bring Yun Chuzhou back. As long as he signed a partnership agreement with the Zhao family, the benefits would be huge. Although Emo shouting had expected this, he was still shocked by second elder Zhao's words. As long as he married the herb, he would receive such a huge benefit. It was simply too worthwhile. If it wasn't for Yun Chuzhou's face painting and her words, Emo shouting would have agreed without hesitation. At most, he would have added a few additional conditions. But at this moment he began to hesitate. A troubled expression appeared on his face. Second elder Zhao, logically speaking, this marriage should be a good one. But Fang Chao has just been found and she has suffered a lot over the years. We can't make such a hasty decision. I need to ask her for her opinion. Second elder Zhao furrowed his brows. He originally thought that Emo shouting would agree to it after he finished speaking, but he didn't expect Emo shouting to give him an ambiguous answer. Emo Chang couldn't sit still any longer and said anxiously, Father, marriage has always been arranged by parents since ancient times. What does a little girl like her know? Where can you find such a good marriage? Please help her make a decision. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Emo shouting wished he could slap Emo Chang to death as he glared at him. He then turned to second elder Zhao and said, Second elder Zhao, you've come a long way. It's been a long journey. Why don't you stay at my Emo residence for a few days and let me do my part as a host? As for the marriage, I will give you an answer as soon as possible. Second elder Zhao was extremely unhappy. He replied coldly, "Thank you for your hospitality, Patriarch Mo." In other words, the matchmaker for my nephew had already broken through the door. If it wasn't for Second Master Mo's sincerity, I wouldn't have come. So, it's best for Patriarch Mo to make a decision as soon as possible. The Zhao family will not force you. It had been a long time since Mo shouting had been ridiculed like this, so he was naturally unhappy. He said coldly, "Second elder Zhao, the biggest reason you came all the way here to propose marriage is probably because of Feng Chao's maternal family. Although the Mo family wants to develop further, it's not to the extent that we can't survive without working with the Zhao family. So, Second elder Zhao, please wait patiently for a few days." "Master Mo, what do you mean? It's fine if you don't agree, but do you think the Zhao family won't be able to get a daughter-in-law?" Second elder Zhao jumped to his feet. "Second elder Zhao, calm down, calm down. My father is reluctant to part with his granddaughter. He doesn't mean anything by it." Mo Cheng's forehead was covered in sweat as he complained to Mo shouting in his heart. All he had to do was agree. Why did he have to wait for a few days? Could it be that he had lost his mind? Second elder Zhao, Mo Cheng is right. I really don't want to part with my precious daughter and get married so early. My words were a little harsh, please don't take it to heart. Mo Cheng, accompany Second elder Zhao to the guest house to rest. Tonight, I will arrange a banquet to welcome Second elder Zhao. Mo shouting suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. He pulled back his words. Seeing that Mo shouting had pulled back his words, Second elder Zhao came back with a mission. So he decided to play along and smooth things over. After making arrangements for Second elder Zhao, Mo Cheng rushed over to see Mo shouting. "Father, as long as we have the low-price talisman from the Zhao family, we will be able to earn a lot of money. This is a great opportunity for the Mo family to rise to fame. How can you push it away?" Mo Cheng complained. Mo shouting glanced at him. "If the marriage is successful, what benefits will the Luo family get?" Mo Cheng was shocked and his face turned a little embarrassed. "Father, what does this have to do with the Luo family?" "Pa!" Mo shouting slammed his hand on the table. "Don't play dumb with me. Why don't you just tell me the truth?" Mo Cheng saw that Mo shouting was getting angry, so he could only say in a low voice, "It's not that beneficial. The Zhao family has only agreed to give the Luo family a certain amount of talismans. Father, don't worry. The majority of the talismans belong to the Mo family. The amount the Luo family can get is only 1/5 of ours." Mo shouting nearly fainted from anger. You idiot! Is 1/5 too little? The fragrant grass belongs to the Mo family. Why should the Luo family get 1/5? In the future, if anything happens to the fragrant grass, the Mo family will bear all the blame. The Luo family will have nothing to do with it. Besides, with the Luo family competing with us, can our talisman still be sold at a high price? Do you have a brain, you idiot? Mo Cheng was scolded like a dog. He stretched his neck and explained, "Father, I understand what you're saying, but without the Luo family pulling the strings, we can't get along with the Zhao family. Besides, my father-in-law said that as long as we agree to this marriage, they will help us deal with the plain brocade for free." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo shouting sneered, "So you're waiting here. The Luo family sure put in a lot of effort. Good. Second brother, you really have a good wife." Mo Cheng obviously knew that Mo shouting was mocking him, but he didn't think much of it. Was the Luo family doing something wrong? It was obviously a matter of mutual benefit. The matter of the plain brocade could only be blamed on boss and third brother, not the Luo family. "You should accompany Second elder Zhao for the next few days. I'll think about it again," Mo shouting said with a dark expression. "Father, this shop won't exist after this. You should hurry up and make a decision. Only the Zhao family is interested in that trash Feng Chao. Get lost." Mo shouting angrily threw his teacup at Mo Cheng. Mo Cheng left with a dirty look on his face. Mo shouting let out a long sigh. His family was so unlucky. How did he end up with such an idiot? Of course, he was also tempted by the Zhao family's offer. But he had always felt that Yun Chujia's offer would come true. If that was the case, why should he be bullied by the Zhao family? Most importantly, he would be charged with selling his granddaughter. Forget it. Let's see if Feng Chao, that lass, can sell the plain brocade. On the other side, old Madame Lu was asking Luo Shi about the Zhao family. Mother, this is a good marriage that cannot be found even with a lantern in hand. As long as Feng Chao marries her, our Mo family will rise to fame, said Luo Shi with beaming eyes. What a nice way to put it. Since it's so good, why don't you let Feng Hua marry her? Old Madame Lu now found Madame Luo quite an eyesore. Madame Luo choked and said awkwardly, Mother, it's not a question of who we want to marry. The Zhao family has specifically asked us to marry Feng Hua. Old Madame Lu scoffed. You've pushed it so far. By name? Don't think that I don't know what you've done. I'm not that old. Mother, are you saying that you won't let Feng Hua marry him? Luo Shi asked on purpose. She didn't think that old Madame Lu would give up on the fat in her mouth. It's not up to me to decide. Let's see what Master will do. Although old Madame Lu couldn't bear it, it wasn't to the extent of challenging Mo shouting for Yun Chujia's sake. Luo Shi couldn't help but curl her lips. Mo Feng Chao, do you think it's useful for you to curry favor with these two old fogies? HMPH, when it comes to benefits, you are still the one who has been abandoned. Another 2 days passed and everything was as usual. There was no special news. Mo shouting was a little uncertain. Could this little girl be bragging? If time ran out and she couldn't do it, then marrying her off would not be a pity. As for the warmth between grandfather and grandson, Mo shouting naturally did not take it to heart. Nothing was more important than the interests of the Mo family. Mo Fengqin could no longer sit still. Big sis, it's already been 4 days. Why hasn't there been any movement? Could it be that He Shi's progress isn't going well? Yun Chujia was calm. Don't worry, there won't be a problem. Besides, even if he doesn't succeed, I have a way to sell the plain brocade. What way? Buddha said. You can't tell. Yun Chujia said with a smile. Mo Fengqin was so angry that she was twitching. If she didn't say it, then so be it. The emperor was really not in a hurry. Let's see what she would do in the end. After Mo Fengqin left, Xiao Heinio asked curiously, Master, if He Shi and the others don't succeed, what do you plan to do? Isn't that simple? I have a lot of money. If I really can't do it, I can find someone to buy the plain brocade. Xiao Heinio Mo. All right. The black-hearted owner was so poor that she only had money left. Although this move was rough, it was absolutely useful. No wonder she suddenly relaxed these few days. It turned out that she had thought of such a rich method. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed and there was still nothing out of the ordinary. However, the second elder of the Zhao family was getting impatient. So, he directly said that if Mo shouting did not give him an accurate answer, he would have to return home. Mo shouting had no choice but to find an excuse to delay Mo shouting. He promised that he would give Mo shouting an answer after 3 days. Feng Chao, it's not that grandfather is a man of his word. The Zhao family is really pushing you too hard. Grandfather can only give you 3 more days, Mo shouting said helplessly. Yun Chujio couldn't help but sneer in her heart. The half a month she had promised was now reduced to 10 days. How cold-blooded. But, of course, she wouldn't say it out loud. Instead, she said obediently, Grandfather, I understand your difficulties. Don't worry, I will definitely do it within 3 days. Mo shouting saw how tactful Yun Chujio was. He felt a little guilty. Feng Chao, it's good that you don't blame Grandfather. Grandfather has promised you that as long as you can resolve the plain brocade issue, Grandfather will definitely reject the marriage of the Zhao family. Yun Chujio couldn't help but laugh at herself. At least she had managed to get something out of it. That night, He Shi and the others sneakily came to see Yun Chujio. Miss Feng Chao, we have completed the task you asked us to do. Here are the remaining spirit stones. Yun Chujio nodded in satisfaction. Each of you will leave 50,000 spirit stones as a reward. He Shi and the others could not believe their ears. Heavens, this Miss Feng Chao was too generous. She actually rewarded them so much. He Shi and the others declined for a while, but in the end they still kept the spirit stones. After this incident, Yun Chujia's glittering image had taken root in their hearts. After Yun Chuzhou inquired, she let the others go back first, leaving He Shi behind. He Shi saw that Yun Chuzhou only stared at him without saying anything, and he could not help but feel a little scared. Miss Feng Chao, what are your orders? He Shi, what do you think of me? He Shi was scared silly. Damn, this Miss Feng Chao couldn't have taken a fancy to him, right? He Shi's face flushed red. Miss Feng Chao, this isn't appropriate. You better stop talking. Yun Chuzhou was stunned at first, and then she laughed out loud. You're thinking too much. I'm asking you, what do you think of me as your master? He Shi wished that he could find a hole to hide in. After a long time, he squeezed out a sentence. Of course you're a good master, you're generous. Then I'll ask you to come over from grandfather, what do you think? You don't have to rush to give me an answer, go back and think about it before you give me an answer. If you stay in the Mo family, at most you'll be able to become a guard commander. But if you follow me, I guarantee that I'll let you see the wider world, and walk to a height that you can't imagine. He Shi felt that his brain was not enough. This wave after wave of impact was too unexpected. Now go and find shopkeeper Gua and give him this letter. Ask him to do as he says. Yun Chuzhou took out a written letter and handed it to He Shi. Of course, this letter was written by Mo Fengqin. He Shi nodded and took the letter out of the manor to find shopkeeper Gua. Shopkeeper Gua, who was sleeping, was startled awake again. After reading the letter, he could not fall asleep. Is this Miss Feng Chao sick? What kind of monster is this? Forget it. Anyway, he is the master. Just do as she says. The next day, the entire Fengli city was shocked. Hey, have you heard? The Brocade House has launched a dress called Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers, and Moonlight. A set actually costs 200,000 high-grade spirit stones. It's simply a sky-high price. That's right. Normally, a top-grade dress is only around 150,000. What right does he have to sell it at such an expensive price? Is he crazy about making money? A lot of people quickly gathered at Jinxiu village. They were all here to watch the show, pointing at the Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers, and Moonlight skirt hanging on the wall. This Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers, and Moonlight skirt style is quite novel. This material seems to be plain brocade, but why are there patterns of different depths on it? Shoo! I heard that this plain brocade seems to be a defective product that has not been dyed evenly. What? Defective product? It's a defective product, but it's still sold at a high price. Isn't this brocade house too much of a scam? Shopkeeper Gua's chubby forehead was covered in sweat. He had rejected this matter in his heart, but Yun Chujia's letter had arranged it this way. Shopkeeper, is your Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers, and Moonlight skirt really 200,000 per set? Someone asked loudly. Shopkeeper Gua thought of Yun Chujia's instructions. He pretended to be arrogant and said, That's right. The Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers, and Moonlight skirt is made with complicated workmanship. Each skirt is unique, so the stock is limited. If you want to buy it, you can only pay 10,000 spirit stones to reserve it first. The quantity is limited. First come, first served. What the hell was that? He had to pay to reserve it? Was the shopkeeper Gua's head stuck in the door? It would be strange if someone bought this piece of trash. The news quickly reached the ears of everyone in the Mo residence. Mo Peng and Mo Chong naturally gloated over Yun Chujia's misfortune. They knew that this was Yun Chujia's idea. They thought to themselves, this lass looks smart, but she's actually still young. Isn't she just fooling around? What kind of fool would spend 200,000 spiritual stones on a defective product? Although Mo Chong and Luo Shi did not know that this was Yun Chujia's idea, they still scoffed at it. They thought it was Mo Peng and Mo Chang's idea, so they laughed at it, thinking that it was a joke. After hearing about it, Mo Shouting could not help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that he had overestimated the Feng Chao girl. This idea was simply stupid. Did you think that just because you gave her a big name, she would say that there was a limit to the number of products? Someone would buy it at a high price? How childish. It seemed like he should talk to second elder Zhao about the marriage. The Zhao family's offer was more realistic. Perhaps, with the money from selling talismans, he would be able to open up a path back to the eastern continent. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. The number of people gathered outside the entrance of Jinxiu village was decreasing. They were all laughing at the fact that Jinxiu village and the Emo family were crazy about earning money. Only a fool would buy these tattered clothes. The next day was the deadline Emo Shouting had given Yun Chuzhou. In the morning, Yun Chuzhou went to Emo Xiaoting's study room as usual to read. Emo Shouting couldn't help but sigh. It had to be said that this Feng Chao girl was really calm. Even at this time she still did not panic. If it wasn't for the fact that the Zhao family was too generous, it would have been nice to nurture this little girl. Emo Shouting was deep in thought when he heard Yun Chuzhou say, "Grandfather, today is the last day. How about you accompany me and Fengqin for a walk?" In the past, not only would Emo Shouting not agree, he would even yell at her. But now he felt a little guilty, so he said, "All right. Since there's nothing much to do today, I'll bring the two of you out for a walk." Yun Chuzhou thanked her happily and led Emo Fengqin out of the Emo residence with Emo Shouting. "Grandfather, let's go sit down with the welcoming immortal. Let's go have some tea and listen to some music," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Emo Shouting did not want to wander the streets, so he agreed without hesitation. The group went to the second floor of the welcoming immortal and drank tea and listened to music. Inkasian was the largest tea house in Fengli City. It was right across from Jinxiu Zhuang. The guests inside the tea house were surprised to see Emo Shouting and his entourage. Why did the Emo family bring two little girls to drink tea with them? They had never seen these two girls before. They must be the young ladies of the Emo family, right? As the crowd looked at Emo Shouting, they couldn't help but think of the beautiful dress and started whispering amongst themselves. Although their voices were soft, Emo Shouting could still hear them. His expression darkened as he looked through the window at Mianxiu Manor. Originally, Mianxiu Manor's business was quite good, but after the Heaven, Earth, Mountains, Rivers and Moonlight dress incident, everyone's impression of it changed drastically. Apart from the onlookers, no one came to buy clothes. Shopkeeper Gua had lost a few pounds over the past 2 days, yet he still had to put on a confident front. He almost wanted to die. Emo Shouting looked at the bleak scene in Mianxiu Zhuang and couldn't help but feel regretful. It seemed he had overestimated this little girl. After all this trouble, the business of Mianxiu Zhuang had been affected. It wasn't worth it. Emo Shouting thought of the 20 million high-grade spirit stones and asked softly, "Feng Chao, you didn't spend much spirit stones, right?" "Grandfather, I've always been frugal. I only spent 10 million, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Emo Shouting felt a buzzing sound in his head. 10 million was still not enough? It was over. This 10 million must have gone to waste. At this thought, Emo Shouting was no longer in the mood to drink tea. With a cold expression he said, "Enough, we've strolled around and drank our tea. Let's go home." Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, "Grandfather, we've only drank a cup of tea. What's the rush? Let's sit for a while longer. There might be a good show to watch." If they weren't outside, Emo Shouting would have given her a good scolding. So he could only grit his teeth and remain silent. At this moment the streets began to bustle with noise. 2 young women walked into Mianxiu Zhuang. Most importantly, they were wearing a sky, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress. One was aqua blue while the other was light yellow. Both of them were paired with a white cloth. As the two of them walked slowly, the mottled patterns on their dresses kept changing, adding a bit of liveliness to their bodies. It goes without saying that this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon's dress looks pretty good on me. That's right. If it weren't for the price being too high, it wouldn't be too bad to buy a set. After all, this plain brocade is waterproof and fireproof. It won't break even after wearing it for a few years. That's strange. Didn't Myeonshio Village say that the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moons dress is limited in number and can only be reserved? Why are these two ladies wearing it? Where did they buy it? Everyone was extremely curious. They all gathered around the entrance of Myeonshio, and some people even went inside to watch the show. The girl wearing aqua blue clothes said, "I heard that you guys also have heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dresses here? How much are you selling them for?" Shopkeeper Gu ignored her and said, 200,000 for a set. Pay 10,000 spirit stones first to reserve it. 200,000? Are you sure you said 200,000? The yellow girl said in surprise. Those who were watching the show couldn't help but gloat. These two girls must have bought it at a very cheap price. After all, it was a defective product. Let's see how Shopkeeper Gu will deal with it. That's right. It's 200,000. If you think it's too expensive, you can go to another shop and buy it. Shopkeeper Gu said firmly, but his heart was filled with tears. This wasn't the attitude of selling things. Could this be sold? It's not expensive. It's not expensive. 10,000 spirit stones, right? This is 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. I'll order 10 sets. Give me one set of all colors. The girl in aqua blue hurriedly said, I'll order 10 sets too. No, I'll order 20 sets. Give my cousins one set too. The girl in light yellow hurriedly said, as if she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to get it. Shopkeeper Gu didn't say anything for a long time, but the girl in light yellow clothes became a little anxious. Shopkeeper, tell me if you can do this or not. She didn't know that Shopkeeper Gu's heart was turning upside down. Oh God, someone actually came to buy this defective product? 10 sets? Shopkeeper Gu thought of the letter Yoon Chujo wrote to him and suppressed the excitement in his heart. With a cold face he said, the owner has told us that there is a limited number of these heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dresses. In order to let more people buy them, everyone is limited to 10 sets. If there are any more, we can't sell them. I'm sorry. The onlookers were stunned. Holy shit. Not only were people buying this shit heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dresses, but they were also fucking limited? Was this Shopkeeper Gu crazy, or were those two girls crazy? Just as everyone was thinking about it, the girl in the light yellow dress was unhappy. Shopkeeper, how can you be like this? Open the door and do business. I can buy as much as I want. Why is there a limited edition dress? Shopkeeper Gu thought to himself, fucking he didn't want to do this. But this was exactly what the little ancestor had told him. If he didn't do as he was told, he might have to move his head. Mo Shouting, who was sitting in the tea house, furrowed his brows. It wasn't easy for someone to come and buy, so why wasn't he selling? This Shopkeeper Gu was usually quite smart, but what did he do today? How could he push his business forward? However, where did those two ladies buy the heaven, earth, mountains, and rivers and moon dresses from? Could it be that someone else also used this plain brocade dyed with flowers to make clothes? Everyone's gaze focused on Shopkeeper Gu. Shopkeeper Gu spread his hands helplessly. Miss, I'm really sorry. This is what the owner told me. Each person can only buy 10 sets of this heaven, earth, mountains, and rivers and moon dresses at most. If you are not satisfied, you can look at the other dresses in the shop. Those are not limited to purchase. The girl in the light yellow dress curled her lips. I want to buy this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dress. I don't like other clothes. We came all the way here. Can't you make an exception? That's right, shopkeeper. We also came all the way here because we heard that you have a heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dress here. You can make an exception. The girl in the water blue dress echoed. Shopkeeper Gu felt as if he was talking to a dog in his heart. Oh God, after doing business for so many years, he had never encountered such a situation. The customer wanted to buy it, but the shopkeeper refused to sell it. Was he crazy? However, Yoon Chujo had told him in advance. He could only grit his teeth and said, ladies, I'm really sorry. Our shop has rules. The heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight skirt is limited to 10 sets per person. If the two of you have any objections, you can go to another shop to have a look. You're so unreasonable. Lanxiang, let's go. We're not buying from him anymore. The girl in the light yellow dress said angrily. The girl in the water blue dress was a little hesitant. Su Xing, we came all the way here for this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dress. Wouldn't it be a joke if we returned empty-handed? Moreover, this 200,000 yuan is too cheap. Let's buy it. But this shopkeeper is too much. I don't want to buy it anymore. The two young girls began to argue in a low voice, but the spectators managed to catch some crucial information. They came for the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight skirt? What was so special about this lousy skirt? Wasn't it made from plain brocade with dyed flowers? Could it be that there was another difference? Also, 200,000 is too cheap? From the sound of it, it must be much more expensive elsewhere. How is that possible? Just as the melon-eating masses were feeling suspicious, they heard someone exclaim, "Look! Those two girls are also wearing heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dresses." Everyone looked in the direction that person was pointing at, and sure enough, two more girls wearing heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dresses walked over. One of them was wearing a fiery red dress, while the other was wearing an aqua pink dress. The two young girls in the brocade village also saw it, and the pale yellow young girl's expression changed. Oh no, why are they here? Shopkeeper, 10 sets, then 10 sets. Order 1 set for me in 1 color, hurry up. Shopkeeper Gua had someone collect the spirit stones and give them a certificate, then said, in half a month, the two young girls can have someone bring the certificate over to take the ready-made clothes. The two girls nodded. At this time the other two girls also walked in. The four of them obviously knew each other. The girl in light yellow clothes curled her lips. I didn't expect you to be so well informed. You followed us as soon as we arrived. The girl in fiery red clothes snorted coldly. Su Xing, this satin shop isn't owned by your family. What's wrong with us coming? Shopkeeper, how much is this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight skirt? 200,000 upper-grade spirit stones. Shopkeeper Gua was in a state of confusion as to who he was and what he was doing. If he didn't know that this was a genuine defective product, he would have thought that this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dress was some amazing high-grade clothes. 200,000? That's so cheap. Give me 50 sets. I want 50 sets too. The girl in the pink dress hurriedly said. Shopkeeper Gua swallowed his saliva. He finally managed to restrain the primal power in his body. With a stiff face he said, I'm really sorry. This model of clothes only accepts pre-orders, and each person can only buy 10 sets. If you want to order, please pay 10,000 yuan as a deposit for each set. What? It's fine if you want to order, but you actually want to limit the purchase? Are you out of your mind, old man? The red-dressed girl shouted unhappily. The girl in the light yellow clothes snorted coldly and said, Forget it if you don't want to buy it. Someone is begging you? If you don't want to buy it, hurry up and leave. The red-dressed girl glared fiercely at the girl in the light yellow clothes, and then she curled her lips and said, Forget it, forget it. I can't come all the way here for nothing. 10 sets is fine. Alright, I'll order 10 sets too. Seriously, I thought I could buy more to give away, but I didn't expect it to be limited. Seriously? The Acupink girl said helplessly. After the four girls left, everyone was as curious as a cat scratching its head. What was the deal with this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dress? Why did the four girls come all the way here to buy it? They even said it was very cheap. What was going on? One of the smart ones shamelessly found the yellow-clothed girl who was strolling on the street. Miss, may I ask why you want to buy the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dress? You don't know? This heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dress is not simple. Let alone 200,000, it's 500,000. Su Xing. The girl in aqua blue tugged at the girl in yellow, stopping her from continuing. The girl in yellow stuck out her tongue. I didn't say anything. Just pretend like you didn't hear anything. The girl in yellow wanted to continue, but she was dragged away by the girl in aqua blue. Someone also went to ask the girl in red. The girl in red pouted. If you like it, then buy it. There's no need for so many double. The onlookers immediately imagined a lot of things. Could it be that there was really something special about this dress? Otherwise, why would these 4 girls come all the way here to buy it? However, everyone was still on the fence. Maybe these 4 people just liked this style of dress, so they came to buy it. Just as everyone was wondering, more than 10 people came to Mianxiu Zhuang to order the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dress. There were middle-aged women, young girls, and some seemed to be young ladies from big families. Some of them seemed to be servant girls or maidservants. There was even a middle-aged man who came to inquire if shopkeeper Gua had any men's styles. Shopkeeper Gua said with a wooden face, "There aren't any men's styles for the time being, but they will be released one after another in the future." The middle-aged man was immediately beaming with joy and immediately handed over the deposit for 10 sets of men's clothing. The onlookers, especially those who were quick-witted, could not sit still and tried to find out what those people had to say. Unfortunately, those people kept their mouths shut. In the end, it was the youngest girl who let the cat out of the bag. "You really don't know? I heard that the plain brocade used in this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon's dress looks like a defective product of dying flowers. But in fact, it's soaked in a special spirit herb. After wearing it, you can increase the speed at which you absorb spirit chi." What? The spectators lost their composure immediately. This heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon's dress actually had such an effect. No wonder these people came all the way here to buy it. If it was really like this, not to mention 200,000, even 500,000 wouldn't be expensive. Many people were skeptical. They ran to Jin Xiuzhuang and asked Shopkeeper Gua, "I heard that this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight skirt increases the speed of absorbing spiritual essence. Is it true?" Shopkeeper Gua said with a cold face, "I've never heard of anything that increases spiritual essence but not spiritual essence. If you want to buy it, then hurry up. If you don't want to buy it, then look at other styles. Anyway, there is a limited number of heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight skirts, and they will be sold out very soon." People were like that. If Shopkeeper Gua said it in an exaggerated manner, the onlookers might think that he was exaggerating. But Shopkeeper Gua actually denied it. What was the reason for this? Normally, shouldn't people praise their own products for the sake of sales? Why did Shopkeeper Gua deny it? Someone slapped his thigh and said, "I know. This profiteer must want to raise the price." Think about it, when he saw that the sales were so good, and those people even said that other places had already sold for 500,000 high-grade spirit stones, how could he not be tempted? Perhaps the price will rise tomorrow. That makes sense. Must be like that. No, I have to order a few pieces. Otherwise, the price will definitely rise tomorrow, and it might not even be possible to buy them. Where can I find such beautiful and effective clothes? 200,000 is indeed not expensive. I'll order a few pieces too. I'll go too. I reckon that this quantity is definitely not much. If I go too late, I reckon I won't be able to get them. People all had the mentality of following the crowd. With a few people shouting like this, many people who were originally uncertain immediately made up their minds. In addition, once they heard that they might not be able to buy it, the heaven, earth, mountains, and rivers, and moonlight dresses instantly became lofty in their hearts and swarmed toward the brocade house. Shopkeeper Gua was so scared that he was dumbfounded. Oh God, are these people crazy? Shopkeeper Gua recalled the letter Yun Chuzhou gave him and said loudly, "Everyone listen to me. The heaven, earth, mountains, and rivers and moonlight dresses use a limited amount of plain brocade, so the number of ready-made clothes is also limited." Hearing Shopkeeper Gua's words, everyone immediately became anxious. "Shopkeeper Gua, what do you mean? Do you not want to sell it to us, or do you want to raise the price? You have already sold the foreigner. Why don't you sell it to us?" It had to be said that although the bumpkins method was a little damaged, the results were great. Emo shouting was, after all, someone who had seen the world. Although he was shocked, His expression quickly returned to normal. Let's go back to the mansion. Yun Chujo pursed her lips. Old fox, why are you pretending to be calm? You are the head of the Mo family. What is the meaning of this? After walking for a while, Mo shouting finally returned to normal. However, he was filled with questions and couldn't wait to fly over to the Mo residence to ask Yun Chujo what was going on. Finally, the group returned to the Mo residence. After entering the study room, Mo shouting was just about to ask Yun Chujo what was going on when Mo Peng and Mo Chong ran over excitedly. Father! Father! Please tell shopkeeper Gua to stop selling the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moon dresses. It turns out we are getting a blessing in disguise. The plain brocade was not a defective product. It was soaked in a special spiritual herb. After wearing it, it could increase the speed at which it absorbed spiritual energy. How could such a good item be sold for only 200,000 yuan? At least 500,000 yuan. Mo Chong said excitedly. Mo Peng, who was at the side, also chimed in proudly. Father, this is really a blessing in disguise. Not only will we not suffer a loss, but we will also make a huge profit. You won't be angry this time, right? That's right. Second brother still wants to ask the Luo family for help. Bah! Our Mo family is blessed by the heavens. We even need the help that the Luo family owes our son. Mo Chong said with a beaming expression. Yun Chujo couldn't hold back her laughter. Where did these two people get their confidence from? Blessed by the heavens? Bless my ass. If it wasn't for me, you guys would have lost everything. Mo Ziding's face turned red. He wanted to kill these two idiots. Get out. Get out. Keep your mouth shut. If I hear any of your nonsense, I won't forgive you. Mo Peng and Mo Chong were completely confused. This was such a good thing, why was their father scolding them? I'm warning you too, you are not to interfere in the plain brocade business. If I find out that you have done anything or said anything wrong, I will take back all your shops. Do you hear me? Mo shouting was extremely disappointed in his two sons. They were completely stupid. Although Mo Peng and Mo Chong still did not quite understand, they did not dare to disobey Mo Ziding's orders and retreated with their heads lowered. Mo shouting slammed the table angrily. Stupid! Stupid! How could I, Mo shouting, have such a stupid son? Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. The reason was simple. You've done too many immoral things. Mo shouting took a deep breath and asked, Feng Chao, tell grandfather what's going on. Grandfather, it's actually very simple. I've only used two methods. One is to buy clothes and the other is to limit purchases. Yun Chujo did not mention hunger marketing. She was afraid that Mo shouting wouldn't understand, so she changed to limit purchases. Mo shouting furrowed his brows and thought for a moment before he suddenly realized. You arranged for those women and those people to buy clothes? Yun Chujo giggled. That's right, not only them but also those who were causing a ruckus in the crowd and adding fuel to the fire. I asked Heisher and the others to hire them. Mo Ziding's eyes twitched. This little girl was really mean. She actually thought of such a method. If he didn't know, even he would have believed her. Then why did they limit their purchases? Wouldn't the more they buy, the better? Mo shouting asked in confusion. Grandfather, this restriction is to stimulate people's desire to buy. The less they can get, the better. This restriction has created the illusion that demand exceeds supply. The more it is like this, the more people will fight over it. Let me tell you, there might be more people lining up to buy tonight. There might even be people from other cities coming over to buy, Yun Chujo said confidently. Mo shouting had never heard of such a sales strategy. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense, but he suddenly thought of a crucial question. Feng Chao, what you said makes sense. But the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress doesn't have any effect on absorbing spiritual energy. What if those people come and cause a ruckus? Yun Chujo smiled brightly. Grandfather, don't worry. I have already thought about this. Firstly, I will let the child spread the public opinion. I will say that ever since I put on the heaven, earth, mountains and rivers, and the moon dress, the speed of absorbing spiritual energy has increased. Everyone loves their face. If others have increased their speed, how can they say that they have not increased their speed? Secondly, if there are still people who go and cause a ruckus, I will let Shopkeeper Gua play the recording stone. Shopkeeper Gua has clearly told them that this dress does not have the effect of increasing the speed of absorbing spiritual energy. If they cause a ruckus, it will be unreasonable. Mo Shouting did not say a word after hearing Yun Chujia's words. He was completely shocked by Yun Chujia's methods. This little girl was a business genius. How did she come up with these methods? They were simply too ingenious. Most importantly, they were flawless. Even if people noticed something was wrong, they wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Mo Shouting did a rough calculation and was shocked by the profit he could make. 1.5 billion high-grade spirit stones. Oh God, this little girl had sold those defective goods at a sky-high price. Even the talisman business wasn't this profitable. Just as Mo Shouting was about to praise Yun Chujio, Mo Chung arrived. Dad, I heard that the plain brocade was sold at a high price? I told you my brother-in-law wouldn't cheat our Mo family. Although Mo Chung felt it was a pity that this matter couldn't suppress Mo Peng and Mo Chong, it was still a good thing that the Luo family had been cleaned up. Yun Chujio looked at Mo Shouting with sympathy. How did such a smart old fox give birth to 3 idiots? Could it be old Madame Liu's genes? Mo Ziyading's face was indeed red with anger. Shut up. Get out. Mo Chung was completely dumbfounded by the scolding. He then said, Dad, let's not talk about the plain brocade for now. Second Elder Zhao said that today is the last day. If you don't give him a definite answer, he will leave for Jianfeng City. Tell him to wait in the living room. I will tell him the result. Mo Shouting felt disdain in his heart. Did he really take himself seriously? Wasn't it just a matter of controlling the supply of talismans? If worst came to worst, the Mo family would no longer deal in talismans. With Fengchao as a money tree, who would be bullied by the Zhao family? Mo Chung did not know what Mo Shouting was thinking. He thought Mo Shouting was going to agree to Yun Chujia's marriage. He glanced at Yun Chujio proudly before leaving in a hurry. Fengchao, don't worry. Grandfather will not agree to the Zhao family's marriage. In the future, grandfather will help you find a suitable family and marry you, Mo Shouting said with a smile. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. The old fox was probably thinking that it would be best if she never married. Grandfather, I will follow you to take a look, Yun Chujio said because she was afraid that the Zhao family would come up with another bargaining chip to prevent Mo Shouting from changing his mind. Mo Shouting now found Yun Chujio extremely pleasing to the eye, so he agreed without hesitation. When Mo Shouting brought Yun Chujio into the living room, Mo Chung was talking to Second Elder Zhao with a fawning expression. Mo Chung saw that Mo Shouting had brought Yun Chujio with him, so he was even more certain that Mo Shouting had agreed to marry Yun Chujio. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought her here. Second Elder Zhao, this is my eldest daughter, Mo Fengchao. Don't you think she has an outstanding appearance? Mo Chung asked in a flattering manner. Yun Chujio curled her lips. If others didn't know, they would think that he was a pimp. How shameless. Mo Shouting was furious. Second Elder, shut up. Mo Chung was so angry that he shrunk his neck and sat back in his seat without saying a word. Second Elder Zhao sized up Yun Chujio. Her looks were not bad, but it was a pity that looks were useless. It was mainly because of her identity as a member of the Yi family. Master Mo, it seems like you've made up your mind. Since that's the case, let's set a date. The 8th day of next month will be the auspicious day. Why don't we set it on that day? Second Elder Zhao said arrogantly. He thought to himself, after considering for so many days, didn't he still agree? Mahas cannot resist their Zhao family put forward the conditions. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.